It's Tuesday here on the Splash Play channel. You know what that means. Time for another TRIDRAFTALON, a trademark phrase that I've coined here for where we draft on Underdog. Of course, Best Ball Mania, DraftKings, their Millie Maker, Drafters, the main event championship. That tournament's not even 50% filled. You get some sweet overlay today. We're going to draft on all the sites today for $4.5 million in total. And of course, I'm all in a draft room here, picking in the 7th spot. I noticed some unbadged names in this room. I noticed the name Mike Hunt in this room. I'm sure Underdog would be thrilled to have Mike Hunt take down Best Ball Mania this year, but it is a 20-second draft we'll be doing today. Of course, best ball news going on right now. Important stuff to keep an eye on. The Brian Robinson trade stuff, I feel like I should go second with because it's so absurd, I think, how that broke down. Daniel Jones, though, starting for the Colts. That's a big one. I've talked on stream before. I've not been taking a lot of Anthony Richardson, not been taking a lot of Daniel Jones. I just didn't have a lot of belief about who's going to start the year, who's going to finish the year. At this stage, I would think it'd probably be more likely that Daniel Jones starts, at some point gets hurt or is ineffective, or the Colts just aren't going anywhere, aren't in the hunt to make the playoffs. Then you have Anthony Richardson coming in. Basically, the way that it works right now is that if you want to take Daniel Jones, you're assuming that the Colts end up being a team that's competitive for a playoff spot. That's his best way to be in the hunt, holding that starting job the entire year. And I get if you take Daniel Jones, but I think if you take either guy at this stage, it has to be a 3 QB build. That's probably the way you should have been doing it the entire time anyway. That's definitely the way you should be doing it now with the information that we have. We got a pick coming up here, starting off at pick 7. For me, Sticky Fingers gets the falling CeeDee Lamb in this room. Justin Jefferson hanging around, should be back in practice, it seems like, eminently. So he's got his hamstring tested out. I'm not sure if he's participating in 11-on-11 stuff, full practice stuff at this stage, but at least he's going to be back out there on the field doing actual activity. And it's odd because there's been clips floating around on social media of Justin Jefferson, like, literally skipping around the field, playing around, tackling guys. So it feels like he should have been able to play already, but at this stage, erring on the side of caution and being good for week 1. That's all winding up the way it's supposed to. But the Brian Robinson thing is the big one. And I want to talk about this one a little bit more because you can see he's on the thumbnail today. If you don't know Brian Robinson's face, you're probably not going to know him now and that he goes to another team either. It's probably be an even worse situation. For Brian Robinson, though, the big thing for me as it stands right now is that I think there's still outs that could be good for him. That said, I've been thinking this entire time that they would work it out with Washington, but the most recent reports, including Dan Quinn's press conference yesterday, seem to indicate that they're fully cutting ties with Brian Robinson. They told the team Sunday night something to that effect. Ben Standig, the guy who I talked about, was previously with The Athletic. Now he's working on a Substack. He's got it right the entire time, so we got to shout out good reporting because there's not a lot of it that exists in both sports and in general across the world right now. No politics, but let's be real about it. Journalism is dying because it doesn't make enough money. So guys like that getting it right, reading the tea leaves. I think the way he couched it initially could have been, sourced a little bit more and saying the team feels like he doesn't do X, Y, and Z. And let's make a pick here. We could talk more about what Brian Robinson doesn't do and apparently why they're moving on here. Why is it? I feel like I'm a little bit behind on the clock too. Achane falling, Chase Brown here. I'm going to go Chase Brown. I'd be happy to get Achane at this stage in general. That said, Chase Brown is a guy I would like to get more exposure to down the home stretch. Seems like the timer is off on Underdog too. So this is going to be a fun thing to deal with here for this stream. We got a Jefferson, Chase Brown start. I think just relative to where these guys have gone ADP-wise the entire time that we've had drafts, I'd say it's a decent possibility. This is somewhat unique to have a Jefferson Chase Brown combo, not at this stage of drafts now, but over the course of the entire draft process. Not something I'm pitting my hat to or anything, but I think Jefferson and Chase Brown works well enough for me. And I think Jefferson and Achane would have also been fun. That combo is probably a little bit unique as well, relative to the draft process the entire time period where these guys have gone. But with Achane having a soft tissue injury, there's the ones in the past where I feel like, and frankly, even this year still, I've been not the most cautious about, but soft tissue injuries do tend to linger a little bit longer, have a higher chance of reoccurring. So for Achane, if you were to have a little more caution, I think throwing it out the window at pick 20 seems fine. But taking Achane at ADP right now still feels like maybe not the right move at this stage of things, given the fact we only have less than 20 days till the season starts at this point. So Brian Robinson, so basically the whole thing that basically, I guess, came out, let me say basically more times. The thing that came out about him was that for Brian Robinson, he doesn't offer the same kind of flexibility as a runner as what they're looking for. And this is something, too, where I've not been a Jacory Krosky-Merritt guy, so you can call it bag defending, whatever. But I do think for Krosky-Merritt, it's still a guy who's a 7th-round pick. You have Eckler, who played really well last year and does offer what they want, was that sort of the multiplicity of pass game and run game. You have Chris Rodriguez, who now you have the priors of what he did yesterday on Monday Night Football. You're breaking a 40-yard run as one of the 5 touches he had in that game. But I think really the big thing is that people are going to treat Krosky Marinizilius as a big riser, and that's the whole reason why they're getting rid of Brian Robinson. I think it's more the fact that Brian Robinson, because there were deals that went around for guys in this draft class this year, Kyron Williams, James Cook both got paid. Robinson, with how he played last year, probably tried to get an extension, or his reps did. And I think they kind of were like, you're not in the plans, basically. Again, this fucked up clock is killing me here. I am going to go Lamar Jackson here, trying to get some Lamar and BBM overall. And at this stage as well, a lot of players will have Jefferson stacked up with McCarthy. It's something we know from the data that's come out. The early data release from DraftKings Millionaire at the end of June, which there's been no data updates on. We know in general about the, at least on DraftKings, QBs getting stacked up with top receivers about 40% of the time. That's been the case overall. So assuming that's probably the case in Underdog. So trying to come over the top for some of these players, like Jefferson with Lamar, like CeeDee Lamb with Lamar. I did that on DraftKings earlier. Those are the kind of moves I've been trying to make more to get some differentiation down my portfolio down the home stretch here. But Lamar, Chase Brown, Justin Jefferson start. As I've talked about on stream before, sometimes going a little too balanced for me makes the team not feel strong enough, where I'm kind of lacking then at RB, lacking relatively at receiver, especially if I take an elite tight end with it. I think in particular, the team just kind of feels like no man's land. But we'll see how we can salvage this one here with Lamar, Chase Brown, Justin Jefferson start. Yeah, so for Brian Robinson, the big thing for him is that really, because he's not really perceived as a good pass game player, he actually wasn't terrible in the receiving game last year. And I know people, again, will be like, this is cope for Brian Robinson or whatever, because I thought he was a draftable player. I still think he is, even though the ADP for him, to me, should be more now that 110 range where I've seen him go on DraftKings, and I assume he's going to go today on Underdog. I think he's still draftable because there are outcomes that could be good for him. We can talk about that in a minute. But Robinson last year, 17.6% target per out and run. Negative 0.07 EPA per rush. You hear the negative number, you think that's not great, but in reality, a lot of bell cow backs are negative EPA per rush per target guys. Breece Hall would be another one with a negative 0.09 per rush, negative 0.03 per target. That's a guy that people hold in esteem, and he's not super efficient either. So like Brian Robinson, and I said it on stream, like I don't think he's special. Like he's got last year had a 13% avoided tackle rate. That's firmly middle of the pack, closer to your Joe Mixons than they are the Kenneth Walkers, the Bucky Irvings, the Jahmyr Gibbs types, the guys that have real efficiency in terms of making guys miss. But I don't think he's bad. And I think that's sort of thing that surprises me here is it feels like, number one, the rookie contract coming to an end. Number two, they have kind of a swath, a cadre of running backs they could go to now. Seems to be the main thing based on what that same guy, Ben Standig, was reporting after the game last night. This clock being off is really going to fuck with me the entire time, huh? We need more at receiver. I am going to go Mike Evans here. Getting Jaden back, if I had known that'd be the case, might have considered waiting for him instead of taking Lamar. But we do go with a Jefferson, Mike Evans start alongside Chase Brown, Lamar Jackson. Yeah, the clock is starting on 12 seconds. So that's good. That's going to be helpful. Anyway. Debo looked good on his one play. Debo did look good. Debo didn't look fat like we've been talking about here. Apparently he's at like 8-9% body fat. But Debo should benefit. And certainly the Patriots have put out into the wind that they're willing to make a big trade right now and pay somebody. People speculating that could be Micah Parsons. It could be Trey Hendrickson, the lineman for the Bengals right now, who's seemingly still in an impasse with his team. Could also be McLaurin. If you did get McLaurin shipped, it'd be insane, by the way, if the Commanders do this, but if they turned over Robinson and McLaurin, Debo would be undervalued by like 40 picks, I think. So weird stuff in Washington, though. Like I don't agree, and I've said this before, especially as somebody that loves Jaden Daniels so much, loved Washington last year in terms of what I thought that team could be. I think they excelled relative to any expectation I'd have had as even the best case outcome for both Jaden himself and how the team got to the NFC title game and all that. Jaden here going fucking 5-3 after Chuba Hubbard, after Joe Burrow. Oof. All right. Well, it's tough for me to see that. And also Jaden Daniels shouldn't go lower right now for the record. For taking Brian Robinson out of the picture, and we had Jaden Daniels breaking a 15-yard touchdown yesterday that he probably should have taken a slide on. Jaden's should only be going up in ADP. I don't get why he's going at 50 here. For Debo, there's still a world that could work out for him where he ends up being incredibly overvalued. And I don't get what Washington's doing with I just don't think you make these kind of wholesale changes at this stage. And I think it's odd to have a guy you trusted as like a bell cow back last year and you're shipping him out or getting rid of him no matter what it seems like all of a sudden. And we got to make a pick here. I'm going to go Cortland Sutton. Could go up and get Zay Flowers, and it is something I think about a lot when I have Lamar in these spots. But I do think if Sutton's falling 6 spots after ADP, does give us a slightly more unique texture. I think Sutton's got a better touchdown role for his team than Zay Flowers does for Baltimore. That said, I think the Lamar Zay Flowers combos going to be a little bit underowned because they just don't align naturally in ADP well enough, no matter really what site you're playing on. So forcing more Lamar Zay, probably something I should do. I didn't do here. The start right now, feeling good about it, though. We got Lamar, Chase Brown, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton. So I guess to put a bow on the Washington stuff, and I guess to sum it up here, there's a lot I think about it. Number one, I don't think Brian Robinson's dead. I think there's still outcomes for him. That could be out of left field. That would be good. I mentioned in the Discord yesterday when somebody asked where I thought the best outcome would be for him. If people think it's Houston, I don't know that Houston's going to trade for a guy like him because that would sort of be throwing up the white flag on Joe Mixon, and it doesn't seem like they're ready to do that. And based on what the beat reporters have said, still seems like Joe Mixon, I think even more than a Chris Godwin, seems unlikely to go on the PUP list and should be available, if not week one, shortly after that. So I don't think they're ready to make a panic trade for Brian Robinson. But I think Pittsburgh would be pretty logical for Brian Robinson. They haven't loved what they've seen out of Caleb Johnson. They didn't spend the draft capital on him, so I get that. But if you feel like Caleb Johnson's not ready year one, I think Brian Robinson would be the perfect back to step into that Najee Harris kind of power back spot for them. And that's a situation for Pittsburgh right now, too, where I feel like Jaylen Warren is greatly undervalued for what he represents. But for Brian Robinson, if he were to come in there, like Jaylen Warren is probably now appropriately priced then, and Brian Robinson at his ADP is probably also fairly priced. So that's one outcome where, doesn't hurt my bags, and I think would make you feel good about whatever Brian Robinson I have. All right, so Zay Flowers came all the way back. I was trying not to mention it because I didn't think it was going to happen. But this room is giving some nice slides. It was an insane slide for Jaden, and now an insane slide for Zay Flowers, who I get as part of a Baltimore stack that I feel like it's pretty uncommon. Zay here, 9 spots after ADP. Really nice ADP team so far, actually. Got Lamar about 3 spots after ADP. Jefferson a spot after, which is whatever. Mike Evans 6 spots behind ADP. Sutton 6 spots behind. And now Zay Flowers 9 spots behind. So worthwhile BBM team so far. Can we try to do the expanded view here for you guys? Does it work now? It does work now. All right, here you go. Big board view. Now we're through the first few rounds. My face isn't blocking. We can do it. So Brian Robinson, I think Pittsburgh to me would be the one where it's like it doesn't mess with ADPs too much. I think it'd be a positive for Brian Robinson, or at least a lateral move. Other ones that I think would make sense, I do think Cincinnati would make sense. I don't think it's a move for him that I don't think they need it. I think Chase Brown being their bell cow back, they showed they're comfortable out there in the back half of last season. Now they have Pirine to take the workload away from him a little bit on third downs as well. So Chase Brown should theoretically be fresher for whatever goal line such as he gets. I don't really think Cincinnati is a spot that would occur for Brian Robinson, but if it did occur, I'd be happy with it. I think those are the ones that I find to be the most compelling. But Houston, if they think Mixon is dust, him going there would be logical. New Orleans, I don't think is a team that would go for him, but there is a new regime there. Maybe they want a one-cut running back kind of thing. That would work. But really the best fit would be Houston. I just am so in bed with Joe Mixon at this point that I really don't want that to be the case. And I'm sure I have Mixon, Brian Robinson teams, because if they were to trade for Brian Robinson, it would be number one, a bad sign for Mixon and whatever ownership I have there. And number two would be just like Brian Robinson at some point probably has to compete with Mixon. And they are kind of similar, low juice, but compelling enough players who could do a little bit of everything and aren't awful. Here we go. Our 13-second clock is starting up again. Would like to get an RB here. I am not a Caleb Johnson guy. Aaron Jones, I think, is the move for me here. We have the Minnesota bet going fairly well. Sam Laporta I would have been okay with too, but I think we got to make up a little bit more at RB given the fact that we only have Chase Brown at this stage. Let's go back to this board. Okay, the Bears is one people are talking about a lot. I don't know. So what did they do with the Bears initially? They had their, Jamal Williams types. David Montgomery, people would say is Jamal Williams type, but he's a guy that actually does miss tackles pretty well. I don't think if you're Ben Johnson, you're going to choose a straight line, no juice runner if you can avoid it. And Roschon, frankly, has already been that as a pro so far. He missed a lot of tackles at Texas, has not done the same as a pro. I don't think you're looking for a Brian Robinson if you are Chicago. I actually think a team that would make sense and wouldn't really based on how the room is, but I think his style would work well. I think Arizona would actually work pretty well for Brian Robinson in terms of being if he soaked up some goal line work that goes James Conner's way, I think he'd actually be able to be good at that. But that's fantasy-wise, that would make it an absolute mess. All those guys, that'd be a dumpster fire. It does seem like they want to play Trey Benson more, so I don't think they're bringing in another back. But I don't know, like Pittsburgh is the one that I think I haven't heard people talk about. Well, we've heard them be all in for a bunch of different things here. Anything that makes the team incrementally better, I think they're willing to take a shot on. And I don't know, Brian Robinson going to Pittsburgh, I would like to see that, I think, more than most other spots. That's the one I'd pin my flag to if I could. Let's get going here. Bieniemy also wanted Chris Rodriguez to replace him or to play above him. So I don't know that's the guy necessarily that's going to save Brian Robinson's career for Chicago. All right, clock's on 0 for this guy, even though his pick is up. Clock working real well today on drafters. We will overcome. All right, Shakir here, decent fall. I like pairing Baker with Lamar. I feel okay enough at RB, and I don't think taking Tyrone Tracy or Joe Mixon right here is going to materially change this team's fate. And I think, again, a lot of teams will have with Jefferson, they'll take J.J. McCarthy, and I'm okay with J.J. McCarthy and I'm okay with him in general, to be honest. He's fallen a lot in rooms and DraftKings in particular. Some of the slow drafts I'm doing on there, I've seen J.J. McCarthy going in like the 140s lately. I think people are less enthusiastic about how this preseason run out has been for him. And they haven't seen the upside. I think the fact he's fed Addison pretty well from the little bit we saw of him, I think more impressed with McCarthy than not. And I think the preseason reports from camp, even though they haven't been like, oh, he's crushing every day in practice, it's still been up, enough and went down sometimes for sure. But I think a lot of the reports have been good. So I like McCarthy, but I think really the big thing here is that a lot of teams, when you have that alpha receiver up top, you are going to have that QB just kind of fall and be your QB. And that's what all the data that's been public so far has supported. So it's one thing I haven't talked a lot about strategy-wise, but I've noticed myself doing more in drafts, so I'm just saying it out loud. They're trying to pair when you're going to have a very obvious QB coming with whatever receiver you take, like a Jefferson, again, a Lamb, a Nico with Stroud. Less so at this stage, Puka with Stafford, but Amon-Ra with Goff. Like you put the elite QB with that, or you put good QBs like Jackson, like Mayfield with that stack. I think you're going to do better than a lot of teams. So that's what I'm trying to do here by not taking McCarthy as the easy stack and instead going with Mayfield, stacked up with Evans, and Lamar now stacked up with Zay. Be Chris Rodriguez, be the Commander starter. I wouldn't look at it like a starter. So that's the big thing, again, that Ben Standing, the guy who got it right before anybody reported out, was that. And we also have Mark Andrews coming back. I could take Mixon here. I could take Dobbins here. I'm actually going to go Dobbins. I think we need a third RB more. RB has fallen off the cliff a little bit here. It's so weird. The clock goes to 0 for like fucking 5 seconds. But then if I click it, it tells me I can't make the pick anymore. So strange. Think Mixon's still a valid pick to me, but at this point, I've got enough Mixon at 90, 100. I want to get some more Dobbins in this range when I need to make it up at running back, so we're going to do that here. The start here is Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield at RB, Chase Brown, Aaron Jones, J.K. Dobbins. At receiver, Jefferson, Evans, Sutton, and big value on Zay Flowers as well. Really big value on the entire room. So I'm not forcing in the fifth receiver yet, even though, again, normally I would like to have it be at least Mims or Kirk being my fifth receiver. Somebody in that range, even if it's not those two guys. In this stage, we're not going to do that here. But yeah, so Rodriguez looked better than JCM. Again, I wouldn't worry about, it's one game, whatever. Rodriguez does bring a different dynamic than JCM, though. The big thing to me, and I look, has he gotten drafted yet? Krosky Merritt just went. If you're taking Krosky Merritt after J.K. Dobbins, after Joe Mixon, that's a really big swing on him that feels a bit overpriced, given the fact that Eckler is still, to me, likely to be the lead guy there. But again, Ben Standig, the guy I was talking about, got everything right. He said it's going to be a running back by committee. So he expects Eckler to be leading the way, or whatever, to be the lead back, so to speak, the most trusted back there. Krosky Merritt, clearly their confidence in him is a part of the decision, but he expects Rodriguez to be involved, expects McNichols to be involved. They have another guy, fucking Kaz Allen's on the roster. Demetric Felton is also a guy they've liked in camp. Right, Mark Andrews came all the way back. I'm getting everything in this room, which is like a little bit weird. I need more at RB for sure, but the Ravens stuff's just coming right back to me. So Mark Andrews, almost 20 spots after ADP, with Zay Flowers 9 spots late, Sutton 6 spots late, Evans 6 spots late. This is nice. All right. Team so far is Lamar and Baker Mayfield at RB, Chase Brown, Aaron Jones, J.K. Dobbins, receiver Jefferson, Evans, Sutton, Zay Flowers, and tight end Mark Andrews. So premium Baltimore double here. No bring back yet, but we should have some options coming up. Even a Marshawn Lloyd team, a ceremonial Marshawn Lloyd team when it's fucking hamstring. It's fucking string cheese hamstring killing here. Yeah, the big thing to me that I think is fucked up right now is like people just think Krosky Merritt's the only beneficiary, and I think that's where things are wrong. Number one, and this was a really short drive for the Commanders yesterday with the starters. Krosky Merritt did not play with the starters. Krosky Merritt came into the second group, and they brought in Mariota, subbed everybody out. So you got to keep that in mind too. Krosky Merritt is also a guy that I like. College-wise, did not show a lot of juice. Like he didn't play his senior year because of a weird situation there where he lost his eligibility or whatever. Doesn't matter, but he's old. He's 24, doesn't have a lot of juice. I think they can play well because everybody who's going to play for the Commanders is going to play well. Like that's been the theory for me since last year. But I don't think he's the lead guy. And I think people are reading it as him being the lead guy. I think that's the most egregious mistake of it all. Do you want to get the fifth receiver here? And I am going to do it. Christian Kirk. I could take Ramondre. I could take Ray Davis. I mean, I could take a lot of guys here. I'm not going to read all the names, but I think Christian Kirk here wanting to get the fifth receiver in. And I think we'll be able to work the room a little bit at RB coming up. So at this stage, again, Keenan Allen, I would say also in my wide receiver 5 hunt. As you guys know, if you've watched the streams all offseason, he used to be my go-to if I needed a wide receiver 6 or 7 late and needed to boost the projection. And now he is one of those legit players going at this stage for Keenan Allen, who's expected to be playing the X for the Chargers. Taking him around Christian Kirk and Marvin Mims as the price tag I thought was right. So I'd happy to get him if I do not get one of Kirk or Mims as my wide receiver 5. Let me scroll the board here. All right. The excitement is that JCM is the next Kyron, and really he's the next Dameon Pierce. That's a tough indoctrination. Look, I don't, and again, I don't want my priors to be the thing. Like the drum beat, and I agree with people that are saying the drum beat's so large for JCM. Like you get it, you follow it. But I think it's more that like people are reading one part of drum beat for him as the entire picture. And I don't think it's that JCM is your bell cow. I think he's part of an attack that they're going to trot out where you have possibly 3 guys getting 8 to 15 touches, let's say, a game. I mean, Eckler last year got 9.8 intended touches a game. Let's say they think based on, and he got hurt at the end of the year, though it was a concussion, but he did get hurt at the end of the year. So maybe they think he can stomach 12 to 15 touches. I would say probably closer to like 12 and a half as a ceiling for him. I think that's enough for Eckler to be a very valuable play. Good RB pocket coming up here, by the way. So part of why I kind of delayed on taking RB, it's a clock thing, just 0. All right, there we go. Ramondre would have been okay taking Ramondre. Ray Davis, I don't mind. Braylon Allen, I do think I like a little bit more at this stage, so I'm going to go Braylon Allen here. Braylon Allen working in pretty much 1-to-1 with Breece Hall in the Jets last game, so it wasn't a thing where Breece Hall got the first drive. Braylon Allen came in. Braylon Allen also took all the power plays away, all the hockey plays took away from Breece Hall, but he took away basically all the short down and distance plays. I think that bodes well. So let me go to the other board here. Before we keep rambling on about all the football things going on through my brain and fudding JCM in a way that's, I'm sure, going to make me feel bad at some point this year, make sure to play on Drafters, guys. Drafters in the home stretch. And really, my professional opinion here is that there's going to be a good shot at a lot of overlay on Drafters. So it really does make sense for you guys to get in here. As I've talked about before, some of my biggest finishes have been on Drafters over the years, including a top 100 finish and Drafters main event championship a couple years ago. Also finished top 10 in playoff best ball last year, only putting in 3 entries. It's kind of upside you get on Drafters. I think you don't get on the other platforms. So you can put in a little bit less, but still get more in terms of the overlay and also the extra entries they give you. And you get 10 in, to give you 1 for free, things like that. So play on Drafters. They support the show, have this entire offseason. Presenting sponsor of Splash Play. So check them out at drafters.com. Use the promo code SPLASH. Download the Drafters app as well on the App Store. But play there, and I will be playing there as well if you want to draft me later on. The 3rd stage of our TRIDRAFTALON is on Drafters. So please do check them out, and please do deposit on there. And shout out to all you guys who have, because I want to make sure that they're happy, and we've sent enough people their way. And really for you guys too, like there's a shot. We did the math the other day, but like there might be like 500K in overlay on Drafters. I don't want to, not saying this part of the sales pitch, like don't hold them to that. But there might be like a lot of overlay on Drafters, and you should get in if you can. So normally when you have the elite QB, we also have Baker. I would think the 3rd QB is a little bit excessive. This is just too big of a fall though for CJ Stroud, and we have the bet now on Christian Kirk. So I am going to go Stroud here, about 20 spots after ADP. This is a batshit room, and I think this is still what happens. Like It's very easy to be a good drafter at the stage of things. That said, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 badgeless drafters here. This is the most ADP I've gotten in real time in a room, I think, this entire offseason. Granted, like, you can make the case here that I didn't really need CJ Stroud. Like, I could have probably done another RB, solidified that room a little bit more. But that said, this room is giving me really crazy values that I think are going to make this team a 1 of 1. So when you have that opportunity, try to soak up the value, still build your team. Don't take 8 wide receivers just because they're all available after ADP in the room. Keeps taking running backs, but really soak up the value when you can. Is sort of what I would try to do. What I'm trying to do for myself right now. This has been a crazy room, though. Yes, drafting drafts coming up next. I agree. And yes, Davis didn't play, so that's less work for Breece and Braylon. That's true. That's true. I mean, I expect third and long situations are going to go probably Isaiah Davis's way. Pass game works. Breece is still going to be involved enough, but I think Breece gets involved more in like the non-obvious pass situations where it's like you might run, you might pass. And taking Kate Otten at 160. That is brutal. All right. Pop Douglas hanging around here. Again, just trying to flesh out the room. Though Eckler, I think Eckler is greatly undervalued going at 160. I don't get this. Like, I really, and again, it could be me. My brain has been broken because now I've been doing fantasy football content full time for 7 years. I'm now getting too projection brained. I'll say those things out loud in case you're thinking them. I don't get how Eckler doesn't move at all. Like, okay, if we're getting rid of Brian Robinson, we're agreeing that Krosky Merritt should move up to some extent. Eckler was really good last year. Eckler was efficient, a plus EPA per reception guy, 0.26 EPA per target, 0.1 EPA per rush, so positive in both categories. A 13% avoided tackle rate. You'd love to see more juice, but he's old. He did have a 31% avoided tackle rate in the pass game, so still got something. Eckler shouldn't be unaffected by these things for Washington, and that's, you could say whatever about Krosky Merritt, but like Eckler should get drafted in the 130s at this point. In my opinion, Chris Rodriguez should get drafted round 17, round 18. That's it. Becoming an old player slapping like Smith. And maybe that's just a circle of life. Like, I pointed it out last year, like that, I felt like some people in the industry were like a little too take locked on certain things that I would say were boomery stuff. They didn't love Jaden as much as I did. They didn't love Bucky as much as I did. We all know that. But also like they would just take Lamar and Mark Andrews at this, the 3-4, situation, round 3 and round 4 over and over and over again. And I was like, I don't think this seems right. So like, I think last year I was still ahead of it. This year I'm just much more team. And maybe that's it. Maybe it just comes down to season by season or where we are in the cycle. But I've said it the entire, since January. I think the rookies are all overvalued, or a lot of them are. There are a few that I think will pay off relative to ADP, and ones that I think have surged. I'm still afraid of, like Egbuka. But, your Jensies, your Hamptons, those guys are priced for where they should be relative to draft capital and what that one-game ceiling should be. There's a lot of guys this year where it's like he's just a new name, and people think that means the guy has to come up. And in reality, I still think that Eckler, Rodriguez, like those guys in week 17, I think they're going to have similar upside, assuming that they're healthy and out there. And I guess you could dock Eckler for that in particular. I think you're going to have similar upside to JCM. So I hate that he already has an acronym. You got to capture. I mean, look, Trey, who are you taking? Tell me, are you just loading up on Giddens? Like, I don't know. I like taking players that have reasonable projections on them. Which I agree is a boomer thing to say out loud. This is an awful pocket here. I'm going to go Thielen. By the way, the clock on 0 for like fucking 10 minutes. Did I get the pick in? I did get it in. Okay, great. Adam Thielen, wide receiver 6 at this point. I'll just add to the bid at this point. All the old players I'm taking. Bro, this pocket, though, is ugly. Like, I don't need another RB at this stage. I could have taken Garendo, Rico Dowdle. I think it'd be fine for RB6. Thielen is still a guy, though, that has been held out, I think, deliberately by the Panthers as the safety blanket for Bryce Young. He's had a good connection with it. I'm building 11 party. I'm taking all the old guys. I've got young guys here, too. Let's read the team here. How young is this team? We got Lamar, Baker Mayfield, CJ Stroud. I mean, Lamar is still on the young side of things. CJ Stroud absolutely is. Baker, mid-range. Chase Brown, young. Aaron Jones, old. J.K. Dobbins is young, even though he feels old. Braylon Allen, young. Eckler, old. Jefferson, young. Evans, old. Sutton, in between. Zay Flowers, young. Christian Kirk, in between. Thielen, old. Andrews, old. 40-60, 40-60 young to old. That's about right. Big Lamar in the same draft class, really? Huh. But Baker has to be a few years older, right? I would think. All right, well, we got a pick coming up here. Got to remember to switch between the windows. Anthony Richardson hanging on as he should. I think he's now a Jackson Dart style pick, where if you're taking him, it's for that fantasy playoff upside and hoping that he gets back on the field for that. Rico Dowdle here, I think, rounds out the room pretty nicely. He's been getting third down work for the Panthers. I've thought he was going to be in the mix with Chuba Hubbard based on their contracts. I was taking a lot of Rico Dowdle throughout really the entire year. I was happy to see him kind of get some actual news that seems to back him up. So Rico Dowdle, my RB6. Team right now is Lamar, Baker Mayfield, CJ Stroud. Again, huge values across the board here. I really like that part of the team. Chase Brown, Aaron Jones, J.K. Dobbins, Braylon Allen, Austin Eckler, and Rico Dowdle. So we have the hero RB with Chase Brown, but all guys that have legit roles, and one in Austin Eckler that I think is underpriced right now by like 30 draft slots. Receiver, Jefferson, Evans, Sutton, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, Adam Thielen. I think we might be done at receiver. And tight end, Mark Andrews. I think a 3 tight end build would not be crazy at this point. We won't get Cade Otton, though, because he went fucking 60 picks early in this room for reasons, I'm sure. Perfect RB room. There we go. See, I agree. Look, I think the one way, an RB room might be better than this is like you add on your DJ Giddens types, he's really the one that stands out for me, but like your Ollie Gordon, if you want to say, your guy could really gain a lot if some injuries occur and things break their way. We've got this bet on Carolina in a couple different spots. So I am going to continue it with Ja'Tavion Sanders. Like him a lot as a pick still. He and a couple other guys late at tight end, I feel very good about taking at this stage. Harold Fannin, I probably should get some more of them the home stretch, given the fact that he did grade out like a monster to me in college. Still don't know the pathways there for him to be like guy you trust in a 2 tight end build, but Fannin has been rested with the starters, much like Dylan Sampson was, much like Jerome Ford was for the Browns. I think Fannin should be more a part of my 3 tight end builds at this stage. And yours too, if you're doing them like I do. All right, let me see. What's Baker Mayfield age? Baker Mayfield's got to be 30, right? Okay, Baker Mayfield, 30. Lamar Jackson age, 28. All right, so 2-year difference. That's fair. That's about what I would have thought. Waller gets drafted. So Darren Waller going to be back in practice. If you haven't been taking him, I think now's the time to feel a little more confident in it. Though I think at this stage, mentioned in the Discord as well, which of course you get access to by joining the channel. Please do join the channel. It supports the show, and it also gets access to a Discord where you'll get my data sheets and stuff in season as well. But Waller, I think it's just nice at this stage to know that he might be out there actually practicing and playing and solidifying whatever role that he has on paper. But I've been taking Waller as it is, in particular on DraftKings, where you have the 20 rounds. I think Waller is a viable part of a 3 tight end build, but it does feel risky until we see him actually practice. So we have Gesicki here, who I'd be happy to take as well. If I really wanted to jam home the ADP value thing, I could do that. Theo Johnson, I like as well. I've been impressed by him in camp. And I'm going to get Theo Johnson. I've actually been trying to get a lot more Theo lately. I'm already like 2x the field on Theo, but to me, he shouldn't be free at this point, given that we've seen him have 30-yard plays in the preseason so far. We've seen Russell Wilson throwing moon balls, and people love that on Twitter. I'm really encouraged by this Giants offense so far, and I think Theo Johnson's got a good role in it. So 2 young guys to back up Mark Andrews at tight end here. My final team before we head over to DraftKings, a 3-6-6-3. We have Lamar, Baker Mayfield, CJ Stroud. Again, normally the third QB with an elite QB feels excessive, but Stroud, 18 spots after ADP, and with some correlation, it just felt right to me. We have Chase Brown, Aaron Jones, J.K. Dobbins, Braylon Allen, Austin Eckler, Rico Dowdle. So all credible RBs with partial roles at the very least, and a bell cow with Chase Brown. Jefferson, Evans, Cortland Sutton, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, Adam Thielen. I think one more receiver might have felt nice, in particular with the old guy pairing here at Thielen at wide receiver 6, but it's fine. Andrews, Ja'Tavion Sanders, Theo Johnson. Ja'Tavion, Theo Johnson, if you get these guys as 2 parts of your 3 tight end builds, I love it. I think these guys are guys I expect to break out more in year 2. Theo Johnson, a freak athlete. Ja'Tavion Sanders, good camp reports. Hasn't shown a ton in the actual preseason games, but I like them all. All right, DraftKings time here. Let me load up the room. And DraftKings too, again, not an official ad, though I will do some official advertising for DraftKings later on today. It's Stochastic at 3 p.m. I'm doing a DraftKings draft as well for best ball coming up there. Actually, this room is a snap fill, guys. Sorry. There wasn't me being sneaky. I just censored it and it filled. I apologize. If you want to draft me today, though, drafters coming up next. I will make sure to give you guys ample time. I just entered the room and here we go. But DraftKings today, if you put in 3 drafts, you get a free ticket for their Thursday night football opening day, the Millie Maker for the showdown for that Eagles game on Thursday night. So that's a good deal you have today on DraftKings. And this week is their best ball week as well. So they have promos going all week too. So take advantage of it. Day one was kind of a shitty one where it was like one of those free tournaments they'll give you for I think week 2 of NFL. Today though, it was that you get that free Millie Maker ticket or that free showdown Millie Maker ticket if you do 3 drafts. So do 3 drafts today, get a showdown Millie Maker ticket, take advantage of those deals if you can, because it increases your EV and all those things that do matter quite a bit for your portfolio. Picking in the 7-hole here, just out of curiosity, because I did update my data on DraftKings, at least through yesterday, so I'm probably short a draft or 2. On DraftKings, I am the lowest on 2 spots. I've been very influential, though, 11 101s. Not a lot, though, in this 5, 6, 7 range. So we're getting that spot here. This is the Best Ball Explorer tool if you're not familiar. I'll drop the link into the chat if you guys want to check it out. But DraftKings been good to me in terms of Jamar Chase exposure. I think I'm at like 15% Jamar Chase. Not going to get him today, but feeling good about that part. Let's see. Would you rather draft sober Darren Waller or Stephon Diggs on weed? I mean, Stephon Diggs apparently has been healing like a miracle man with his pink drugs on a boat with various IG influencers, shall we say, women of ill repute. So, yeah, whatever. It's working out for him. Darren Waller is the indomitables of a man comprised of steel. Well, hopefully he has the hamstrings of that too, which he's not had in his career. Are we giving up any EV with Best Ball Explorer? Or are these contests such lottos that it really doesn't matter? What do you mean? By just giving them the data? No, I don't think you're giving up EV for it, no. Even if they had your data, and then you have to explain why you think you're giving up EV. But no, you should use these tools to keep an eye on what you're doing, what you're drafting. In general, it's important for me, like, especially because this year I'm not using any of the on-screen tools because I had issues with the Chrome, and so I couldn't use the Best Ball overlay tool this year. And I don't need it. I like looking at my exposures on Best Ball Explorer to know where I am. It's important too, I think. Well, not important, but like it's nice to see drafts you had in the past too, where you gained CLV, where you didn't. But really, I think using a tool like that, keeping track of your exposures rather with a tool like Best Ball Explorer tool is important, especially if you're drafting across DraftKings, Underdog, and drafters, because sometimes you have blind spots, like, and it might matter, it might not, but like I take no Zach Ertz on DraftKings, get him a ton everywhere else. If I wanted to fix that, I would know that then going in, and I could get more Zach Ertz on DraftKings, or I could just make that a fade on that site and play it that way. So having the insight into your portfolio, I think, is a really important thing. So I recommend using it. Nico Collins, Christian McCaffrey here. I take a lot of McCaffrey in the spot, but I'd like to get more Nico down the home stretch. In fact, exposure-wise, I got to be higher on McCaffrey than Nico, even though I'm not a big McCaffrey guy. Let's see. Exposure. All right, for DraftKings right now, yeah, I've got 10% McCaffrey. Again, looking this up on Best Ball Explorer here in real time. Nico 7.2, so there we go. So I was correct that I need more Nico if I want to get these guys close to even. And you can see here my big CLV loser, Tyjae Spears, Zay Flowers. I don't think you can see on the Best Ball Explorer tool if you want. My portfolio this year is going to be real weird. I got to be honest. I like the teams I built, even with some of the stuff here late that's not breaking, I would say positively. Like the Mixon stuff dragging on, buying the dip on him has not been good, even though still think he is trending towards playing in the first 4 weeks based on what I've been reading. I can't say that confidently enough, though. But the weird parts of my portfolio is like, early on in Best Ball Mania, I took an okay amount of J.K. Dobbins, so I have a lot of teams that have like good CLV with him, going pick 200 or whatever. Then in some of these tournaments, really all summer long, took Keenan Allen a lot, so I have a lot of good CLV on that. But a lot of my guys, like Godwin has fallen, Mixon has fallen, like guys who I've liked that there was some injury risk on, have had kind of the worst run out in that front, lost CLV on those guys. So it's like a weird mix where I have teams where it's like, Keenan Allen's giving me 100 picks of value, but I'm losing another 100 on other guys. So I'm curious to see how it actually looks in the flow of a season. And ultimately, too, like CLV, it matters because if you have good CLV, your team is theoretically better for it. You can have a team with bad CLV that's still good. So, like, you shouldn't, like, throw the baby out with the bathwater if you've been losing closing line value on a bunch of different players. But it is, like, you know, it's one of those things. Walrus hamstrings are comprised of balsa wood. There you go. It breaks easily. Or noodles. I think really just noodles seem the more applicable thing. Giving our data, no, you're not going to lose EV by giving them your data. There's nothing they could do with your data that would somehow impact you. You don't give them a login or anything. It's like they could take your money. Why do you have to go conspiratorial mode? Like, why is that where we go? Sometimes people just make a good product and it's not going to harm you and there's nothing illegal or evil attached to it. I think they're mostly just trying to sell their draft assistant tool through it is the main thing. All right. Brian Thomas goes. I think at this point we take the falling Achane. Though I took Nico a little bit early, so I don't actually think we're getting. I don't think we're getting a unique combo necessarily by going Nico and Achane. But I'll take Achane here. Again, soft tissue injury, not a guy I want to buy on. But that said, I'd still take Achane above Taylor and above Bucky at this point, and just take the risk there because Achane was going at the turn so reliably for so long. So we have a start here of Nico Collins, Devon Achane. That, again, is probably not that unique, but it's unique for me. Am I worn out with drafting? Still going strong? I feel good about it. I've kept my pace pretty well. The big thing for me is mixing in slow drafts this year. I think that kept me fresher because I've only done I do fast drafts off stream a good amount. Like a lot of my BBM maxing has been off stream. But I've only done drafts like fast draft wise 250 this year, which is still a lot, obviously, but it's not as much as doing like 500. In previous years, I would do all my drafts fast drafts. So by doing some of the small tournaments and slow, it keeps me fresher, but also I'm still kind of constantly in a draft mindset, which sounds depressing to say out loud, but it keeps me, I think, still thinking about it enough actively throughout the day and allows me to get those teams in. So I think that's what I'll probably be doing in the future. And I actually, would like to do more slow draft, fast draft mixing overall. Probably not in the big tournaments still, like probably not in your Millie Maker, your Best Ball Mania. But maybe to get more entries in on drafters, I could do more slows. I don't know. Kind of just runs counter, unfortunately, for me to like what my deal is with drafters, where if I do drafts, I should be doing it on stream because that's the promotion part. But if I wanted to max drafters, I probably would have to do slow drafts. So something I'll think about next year. My exposure on Henderson, probably not that high. I think I'm at like 6. Actually, no. On DraftKings, over 8%. So I like Henderson. I think Henderson's another one to me, kind of like Krosky Merritt, but with a lot more merits to him. No pun intended. I think for Henderson, the big thing is that, like, when we saw him play the first preseason game, he was behind Ramondre. Ramondre taking the kind of serious up the gut kind of runs that were important there. Same thing as well for the last game where it was Antonio Gibson then doing those same plays that Ramondre would have gotten. Now Ramondre's back in practice, so like that'll kind of flow back to what it should be naturally. But Ramondre's getting paid like $10 million this year, but it might be more than that. He's getting paid a good amount of money. Like, they're going to use him, I would still think. I think Henderson makes a lot more sense on PPR sites, and I've said that all along. Half-point PPR, like, he's got the juice to score a lot of touchdowns, but I'm not sure that's where I would want to go, like, crazy amounts. But obviously, if you bought him cheaper, now he looks good. I just thought he was kind of the same bet as Harvey, and I didn't really want to identify one more than the other. Josh Allen after ADP, I think, feels like a nice click at this spot. Little 5-pick discount. I think the Allen, Achane, Nico part of it might make it more unique because Allen usually doesn't come all the way back across the board. So that's what we're trying to make it work right now. Again, same issue that can be an issue is that when you take one QB, one RB, one wide receiver early on, the team can be not strong enough in any category. So really, I think in particular, would like to hit wide receiver pretty hard these next few rounds, but we'll see what we get. Let's see other chats here. Makes sense. Not so much conspiracy. Just saw a couple other streams where folks said they won't use the tool and give us their edge. They didn't go further saying they value. That's just people being stupid. It's people. I mean, just to be real about it. To me, and just reading that chat, it sounds like people trying to sound smart that are being stupid. You're not giving away edge to give that data away. You'll give ETR more data to use for their research in the future because they'll have all your draft boards. I'm sure that's part of it as well. But you're getting adequate value back. All puns intended. I do sometimes intend to pun, but not always. It's a McConaughey. Those are rookie numbers. Those numbers. I think it's important to draft as many drafts as are going to make you happy. And for me, like getting in enough entries in all the tournaments and maxing BBM. I will say too, and I've not plugged this at all, but I will plug it here because there is money you guys can win. So Justin Herzig's fantasy best ball thing, which I think is, to be totally candid, about as lame as the space can get in terms of a thing. But look, it's fun, and I think people are going to hopefully have fun doing it. If it gets toxic, though, and people send me death threats because I didn't perform well enough in BBM, I'm going to, it's going to be a separate thing. But I will share with you guys here, because it's probably not going to get a lot of entries. Justin Herzig's fantasy best ball thing, fantasybestball.com. 5K in underdog credits to first place if you win it now. 1K to second place, 7,500. That'd be nice. 750 to third place, 500 to the fourth place, 250 to fifth place. It actually does seem like it's worth putting in an entry if you guys want to. So you could also, you could pick me if you want. You could not pick me if you want. A few of you guys have tweeted out that you've picked me in your roster for fantasy best ball, but check it out. It's only off of Underdog Best Ball Mania data, but it's a combination of advance rate / finishing, where you finish positioning. So check it out if you want, but I think it's worth putting in an entry at this point because there's actual prizes on the line. Breece Hall falling in rooms, not a big enough ADP for me to take, or ADP faller for me to take. Worthy, I think, makes the most sense here. Feels like Worthy should have steamed up a little bit with Rashee Rice's uncertainty, and that never really occurred. So to get Worthy here, I think at this point, no correlation or anything, but I like him as a click. Thank you for deleting your death threat emails. Yes, please, any emails you're sending me that include death threats. One guy did email me because my email is on screen. I said, don't email me. I didn't reply back, though, because I'm not going to set that. Set that for us. If you actually want to email me, you can email me, heyspags@gmail.com. That's a public email. I don't use it for anything, but you can email me, and then that's like one I've used before for content and stuff. But don't email me. I don't want personal. No death threats, no emails on personal email. That's always the goal. Frankly, my email at this point is like mostly useless. I feel like it's just to get receipts. It's like what my email is only good for. I've unsubscribed from so many things. I feel like that you feel free when you don't have a million newsletters coming in every day. That's my personal goal, which is, again, not a lofty goal. But guys, if you're watching this one live or after the fact, couple plugs here. Number one, please do subscribe down below. Hit the like button, leave a comment. These TRIDRAFTALONs go on Twitter, on YouTube, live and in real time every Tuesday and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. This year is all about me finding a way to slip into the best ball community with something I think actually adds value. For me, that's drafting across the 3 major sites presented by drafters. But of course, I'm doing it here, showing you my action as best I can, giving you my own takes. You can do whatever you want with it here, but doing these down the home stretch Tuesdays and Fridays, 12 p.m. Eastern, hitting every site, of course. And we'll be hitting drafters up next. So please do play on there. Promo code SPLASH at drafters.com. Use it right now. Number one, it supports the show. Number two, it gets you in on the action there on drafters, where there's a good shot at there being a lot of overlay, potentially literal hundreds of thousands of dollars in overlay in these tournaments on drafters. And that's a big thing for you guys out there, because the overlay in these tournaments should end up going to you. Basically what happens is, because there's not enough entries, you end up moving up 100 spots, 1,000 spots potentially in the tournament. And that means your payout goes out, or your payout goes up 100 spots, 1,000 spots. So it's a really important thing for you guys out there to take advantage of these opportunities when there is extra money in a tournament prize pool. And it's a plug. Look, like, Drafters has been a great sponsor for this channel for me for years, and is the presenting sponsor this summer, but really for you guys as well. Like I mentioned anything here, best ball week stuff, Drafters is the same thing. Take advantage of these deals when you get them. Speaking of deals when you get them, Breece Hall, 13 spots after ADP. I would have been cool not taking another running back right now. Metcalf and Smith are good picks to me. Devontae Smith, that is. But Breece Hall, big faller here. We're going to take him. Is he also getting the Brian Robinson treatment? Did the team say, hey, we really love Isaiah Davis, he's going to be our lead back? What the fuck, man? Breece Hall at 55 is not correct. You shouldn't go behind Chuba Hubbard at this point, given the fact we know Rico Dowdle's a third down back. No, that's crazy. Chase Brown might end up being a first rounder by the end of draft season. Maybe. Yeah, he's up to 15 in this room. People like Chase Brown. Look, Chase Brown deserved to get picked higher than he did all offseason. I said it before, like, my threshold is really like, if you're going to be, potentially an RB1 type, you got to have like 5 red zone intended touches a game. Like that's, to me, the benchmark that you have to be around there at the very least. And if you are a good back or a guy, we trust week to week, who has floor, has ceiling, same thing as well. You want to probably have like at least 4 a game. Chase Brown, after starting last year, with Zach Moss being in the picture, taking a good amount of work away, he still finished with 3 red zone opportunities a game, actually 3.7. He had 2.8 red zone rushes a game, 0.9 red zone targets. Zach Moss, before he got hurt, he was doing about 2 red zone rushes a game. So you're talking about collectively, 5 and change are available for Chase Brown, or were available last year. P. Ryan being in this year maybe changes the equation a little bit. Maybe he's closer to 4, but he's right around, point being, he's like right around that mark where it's like, I think he's super legit. I think he showed it enough last year as well. And in particular, when Moss went out, where like weekly projections for him were always, high teens. I have no issue with Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown, he should go ahead of Genty, in my opinion. I mean, Genty had enough of a good preseason game that people are now back on Genty as a 1-2 turn pick. But like, I just think if you're making a season-long projection for Genty, I just think he should be a little bit lower than Brown, Achane, Bucky. It's close with Taylor and Jacobs. That's how I feel about it. Got so much Chase Brown in your Bengals stacks. There you go. Yeah, back when he was going over here, especially on this left side of the board, I don't know if my mouse is showing on screen. Back when he was going over here, if you got Chase Brown with that Bengals alpha stack, that now doesn't exist anymore because you got no shot at Chase Brown coming all the way back. All right, picks coming up here. We got 2 RBs, 2 wide receivers, 1 elite QB in Josh Allen. Feels like a receiver spot, and we get a receiver who's actually like a hot commodity right now, but I'm getting him as a value here. Ricky Pearsall at pick 66. Come on down. Ricky Pearsall, one thing that stood out according to some of the film watchers out there, a lot of breaking routes for Pearsall in that first game, which bodes well for him being able to have that be part of his upside this year instead of just being kind of a go ball downfield guy. Pearsall, also a guy that works out of the slot, so he's never been a great target earner going back to Florida rather when he's playing alongside Anthony Richardson. He was only about a 20% target per route run rate guy last year for the Niners as well. Pearsall was, I think, at like 18. Pearsall's at 17% target per route run last year. So like a little bit low. Don't ever expect Pearsall to be a great target earner, but I think the fact that Jennings is still banged up, Ayuk, we'll see, but apparently between week 5 and week 10 around that range, there's a shot for Pearsall to pay off. If he went to be like a Buka style rise, I'm not there as much, but for where he is right now, I think Pearsall works pretty well if you get him in the 65 to 70 range. First rater I always take is Bowers, even if Genty is still there. I mean, I wouldn't flip ADP that much personally, but I know you play it a little bit differently, Gamblestein, so sure. I mean, Bowers, I don't think Bowers is in dire straits or anything, but you want to talk about preseason signal, the workload for Mayer was not great signal, I don't think. Why can't Chase Brown end up RB1 if all broke right? Too many other touchdown earners on the team. Like the way you become RB1 is like you really dominate the entire share of the offense in a meaningful way. So like you're talking about really big touchdown regression for Jamar Chase. I think T. Higgins is also probably due for more touchdown work. And really the thing too is like Burrow throws like red zone targets at a pretty high rate. I mean, Chase last year, hold on, Jamar Chase had 2.1 red zone targets a game. I think Higgins also had 2. Higgins had 2 flat. So you're talking about top red zone workloads in football for the receivers. So and that's structural. Like they're either Burrow's opting into plays that are going towards receivers, could be play action, but really opting towards targets that go to the receivers, or the team is scheming them up. Either way, it's like part of what they do. So I wouldn't expect that to change, but it could. All right. Feeling okay with Achane and Breece Hall. Think we need more at receiver. Addison obviously going to have that 3-game suspension. That's not great, but at this stage, think he is a good wide receiver 4 to add to the team with Nico, Worthy, Pearsall. Addison and Pearsall, I think similar to me, spike week guys. Worthy, probably also more of a spike week guy, to be honest. Nico, though, week to week, I think should be credible and have a floor and ceiling. But this room is definitely a little spiky. It's a little spiky. feel like we needed like a wide receiver 2 in here. Maybe that's because of me not taking Josh Allen instead of one of the other guys. I feel like we needed one more receiver in here that like has kind of a projectable PPR workload. But the team is working for me enough. I think the RB stuff, getting Breece Hall late, getting some value here, still like the spot. New contest on Underdog Mini Best Ball, or so they're competing with the Fast Draft. Is that the one? I don't know what the deal is. I have not looked at it yet. Let's see. Underdog NFL. Great Dane. Not seeing it on the website. Pick. This is it. The pick 6. $25K to first. That's not bad. Did I see the fact that Pete's doing the YouTube broadcast? Yeah, Pete, our pal Pete Overzet doing the YouTube Brazil game, it seems. So he's going to be the fantasy football analyst, and a lot of big names. Kay Adams, I think, is hosting it. So shout out to Pete. Yeah, they're very cool to see. I liked it on Twitter. So it's like, I don't need to, I don't know. I'm happy for Pete, always. But definitely cool to see. Curious how he got the gig, to be honest, but I'm not going to like text Pete about it. All right, 1-2-4-0. Brian Robinson falling here. Can really feel like a receiver would be nice, but this range of receiver does nothing for me. And Khalil Shakir went. Fuck. Jordan Mason. Do we get him? All right, click Jordan Mason here. Got the Minnesota bet with Addison. Going to increase it with Jordan Mason. Again, really would like a wide receiver 5 here, but Michael Pittman I really am not taking any of him. It's crazy for me how it's flipped for Michael Pittman, where 2 years ago I was like caping for him harder than anybody. Really thought he was undervalued in that offense. Now I think he's greatly overvalued, and he's one of my least favorite ADPs, and I never take him. But Pittman's not my guy. Jaden Reed falling here maybe would have been appealing, but I'm not a big Jaden Reed guy either. Just don't think the workload is there for him, and I don't think that team is going to pass as much as people want to believe. So this spot for me is not my fave. Nothing came back that would have made me feel happy here. Getting Jalen Warren back would have made me feel happy. Mason's okay. Getting Shakir back also would have made me feel happy. But for some reason, Shakir, the fall is gone. He's now climbing back up because people think he's going to be good to go for week 1. And he can't. I feel like I'm taking Josh Allen more these days, and I can't get Shakir with him at all. And I don't know why that's changed. People like Shakir more than I do, I think. David Njoku going at 97. I would really avoid a click like that at this stage. Njoku's going the wrong way. I've seen him go in 150. I've actually taken him, I think, at 140 something in a room. Because of Harold Fannin now working with the first team, Njoku is not like, he's not a guy who's going off the team or anything. He's not getting Brian Robinson. That's now, unfortunately, the reference for everything. He's not a guy I expect to be like off the team or anything. But he is a guy that at this stage, I don't think is going to have as high of an upside, because Fannin was a tremendous target earner at Bowling Green. He also did some stuff at tight end in terms of like the EPA efficiency and all that. I don't think a lot of guys could do. Granted, it was against dog shit competition. But I do think that for just how that looks overall, I don't know. The bet's a little bit different for me in terms of how I view it. 1-3-4-0 build. Ugh. The tight end's falling here, and I do need a tight end. I mean, I guess the logic here would be a lot of Josh Allen teams don't have Mark Andrews, but Keon Coleman went a little bit early. Shakir went before I could grab him as well. Thought I'd be able to get Keon on the way back here at 103. No such luck. So no correlation with Josh Allen, but we do get a tight end into Mark Andrews. The team so far, Josh Allen at QB, Devon Achane, Breece Hall at RB, wide receiver Nico Collins, Xavier Worthy, Ricky Pearsall. Tight end is Mark Andrews. Fourth receiver is Jordan Addison, and we added Jordan Mason on top of that. So both Minnesota Jordans we're crushing on here. But a 1-3-4-1 build that we're going to run into a tough time for QB2, I worry about. But maybe not. Maybe not. This room is getting grabby, though. I appreciate it. Look, I miss doing the weekly streams with Pete as well, but things move in different directions. And, just it's the financial realities of most things that affect us in life. But, Pete's still one of my best friends in the business, so I'm always happy for him. Obviously, I think, if you're even the least bit competitive, you think like, oh, if I worked a little bit harder, do something a little bit differently, you could be in this, a similar spot. So that's probably part of how, if I'm going through my psychology of it all. But I'm always happy for Pete. And I think Pete works as hard as anybody out there. And I think you see it too with people replying to him on Twitter. I don't tweet anymore. Otherwise I would reply to Pete too. But think that, some people work hard enough and they deserve it, and you see it pay off. And I think when the entire community rallies around them, it's pretty obvious that they deserve it. So he certainly does. Pick 114 coming up here. You really want that fifth receiver, but if there is a big RB value, it would be hard to ignore that. And I think it's hard to ignore J.K. Dobbins here. I am still a Dobbins believer relatively. Again, feel like I'm making myself a little too thin at wide receiver 5, but this room has been odd, what it's passed back and what it hasn't. I don't know why. I can't grasp why this room doesn't like certain players and does seem to like others. But, that's that. 1441 build. Only question I have is JCM still available? I didn't look, but I'm not. We talked about a lot earlier in the video. I know TX is just joining here. I am not team Krosky Merritt to that extent. He would have to be at a more reasonable price point than the top 100 for me to take him. That said, this room did not go nuts for him yet. They have not taken him in the first 120 picks almost. So we found the one room that's not steaming up Krosky Merritt, apparently. Honestly, I don't know what this room is doing. I don't know why these teams are all passing up value to the extent they are. We'll see. I appreciate that, Chunk. Instantly thought about you getting the call up. I'm not even in position for that stuff. I'm not publicly visible. I just post on YouTube. I am doing the Stochastic Sunday Live Before Lock shows, so you can look forward to that. My pal Eric Lindquist, I'm going to be doing those this year before the shows. So that's one thing I guess to promote, but I promote stuff just by doing it and retweeting it when it occurs. That's where I am at this stage in my content career. Krosky Merritt goes, though. All right, so Drake May. Again, I really need the receiver. Look, Darnell Mooney is a guy I was taking as wide receiver 4 for a while. I could do this here. QB2 would also be nice. We do have 2 of them right here, but I don't respect this room at all. At this point, I don't think if they take Stroud, if they take McCarthy, I just don't care at this point. I need a 5th receiver I actually can look in the mirror and feel good about. And I think for me, that is in fact Darnell Mooney. So the team right now is a 1-4-5-1. We have Josh Allen, our elite QB, Devon Achane, Breece Hall, wide receiver Nico Collins, Xavier Worthy, Ricky Pearsall. Mark Andrews is our tight end here. Don't think there's gonna be a lot of Josh Allen and Andrews, so we'll try that as a one thing to make me cope about not having great picks where I've been picking. Addison, also part of the team. Jordan Mason, part of the team. Minnesota stack here. J.K. Dobbins, Darnell Mooney, wide receiver 5. I think the team is rounding out. I think having Mooney be available at pick 120, whatever, given the fact he should still be on pace to play week 1. I think that's a nice little cheat code, if you want to call it that. And this, at least the way that I view it, same way that Keenan Allen being free in every draft for months was like a quote unquote cheat code. I think Mooney being available now is that. So like how this goes, could like it more depending upon what we get back. You see the Jalen McMillan news, placed on IR, could be out past week 9. Yeah, he strained his neck and it sounded like it was pretty bad. So he's out. Egbuka even safer than he was before, I would say at this point, because I think McMillan would have taken some routes away that could go Egbuka's way. Instead, now Egbuka's got to be on the field, I would think, full time. Sterling Shepard will mix in some amount for wide receiver 3 / maybe he works in over Egbuka sometimes. But yeah, really Egbuka is one of those things this year where I still think Godwin gets out there at some point in the season, but it seems like he's cruising towards the pup list. The Pewter Report guys who I've talked about did a great job reporting on Bucky Irving last year. They've also been saying Godwin's not even jogging on the sideline, so they don't expect him to be anywhere close to ready for, before week 4. It could still work out that he is, but I would say based on how they've handled Godwin so far, I don't know why he wouldn't be on the pup. So Buka's gotten not quietly, but like Huga's loudly gotten one of the best runouts in football. Like people love JCM and his run out. And I get it. Like here at pick 120 with Scadaboo, that's fair for JCM. He's got a great run out, but I think it's a better run out for Egbuka because like he's just going to be on the field. Like if Godwin's on PUP, you're talking about a month for Egbuka to earn a role that he might even like Wally Pip Godwin if he's that good. I don't think he can. But it's a possibility. Stroud goes here. Stroud had come back. Would have been nice to get him with Nico, but obviously that'll be a pretty common stack. So not anything I'm too hyper concerned about. Let's see what this guy does. Undisputed. If I had to guess, he's going to take a player that I would want. Okay, he doesn't take McCarthy. QB2, JJ McCarthy, done. McCarthy, as I've said, don't reach for him because he's fallen to the late 130s. I've seen him go in the 140s in rooms. Lately, I've seen Bryce Young and Tua go ahead of him in some rooms lately. Really think he's a faller right now. We got him to fall where we needed him. So McCarthy, QB2. Not sure if we'll do a third QB with his Josh Allen team, but it's at least now a 2-4-5-1. Has some more balance to it. Najee draftable around 180. Don't love it. Yeah, he's like a contention back at that point. I don't think you draft him assuming that you want to have him be projectable week to week because Hampton should be safely ahead of him, I think, at this point. And I would guess his projection is probably going to be in the current situation like 8 points a week. Like it's not enough for you really to want to be there too often. But if Hampton goes down, Najee probably steps into the role that he might have had before all the eye injury stuff. So yeah, I think he's draftable there. I'm not clicking him at all, to be totally candid, but he's draftable. All right. Got some more chats in a moment here, just trying to see what we have coming up on the board. A 2-4-5-1 build. Again, RB room based on the guys we got with Achane and Breece Hall. Jordan Mason, Dobbins as a huge value. I think I'm missing one here. No, that's all my RBs. They were pretty good at RB right now. But might be one that we want to take here at pick 151. All right, Romeo Dobbs goes. It doesn't matter. We've lost out on any Buffalo stacking, which has really been the big issue. Whenever I take Josh Allen, it's like I can't get even Josh Palmer now stacked up with him. But Kincaid goes. He was after ADP, so what are you going to do? I'm going to take Eckler, round out the RB room a little bit more. Want to get that fifth RB in. We have a 2-5-5-1 build now. Going to have to skim some creative PPR receivers here to feel good about the team as much as we should. But let me give it a read. Team right now, Josh Allen, Devon Achane, Breece Hall. Breece Hall in the 50s, I think, is a great ADP discount, even though I'm not crazy about Breece Hall. Nico Collins, Xavier Worthy, Ricky Pearsall, top three receivers. Mark Andrews, Jordan Addison, Jordan Mason. Again, the room still feels good here. Dobbins was a nice faller. Mooney way after ADP as well, with that shoulder injury lingering in the Q tag on DraftKings. That discount still going on. McCarthy, nice value. Eckler ahead of ADP, but I think if he's going to pick 150, that's fine to me. I might end up with like 25% Eckler because I was already at 17%. And if he's going to stay at 150 to 160, I'll take the old guy discount on that. Do what you will with it. Thoughts on Braylon ADP being in the 130s now? He's my highest owned RB at 42%. That is a lot. I mean, I wouldn't have an exposure that high ever, so I would stop taking him. I've got Braylon Allen similar ADP ranges. I took him when he was at the cheapest points. Yeah, Braylon Allen, my average pick. Well, this is on DraftKings. I've got more on Underdog. I've got 7.2% all at pick 166. So I've gotten a lot of ADP value there. Underdog, I've got 13% Braylon at 169. I would keep buying Braylon because I think the bet's gotten better for him. But if you've got 40% of him at a cheaper price, I don't know. I don't play exposure that way. So you should get less in general. Like you already got a pretty big CLV discount. So unless you think he's like a bet you're going to need to win it all, but I think he's still cheap enough. Like Braylon Allen going here around Ray Davis. Like him, Tyjae Spears, Benson, I think are all credible bets. So I wouldn't keep hammering Braylon Allen at this range unless you think he's the most special player in the world. All right, pick coming up here. 2551. Well, we're not going to take Jalen McMillan. I'll tell you that much. Receiver is functionally not good at this range anymore. That said, it is a 20-round draft, and Bryce Young is a huge ADP faller. Bryce has done really well in this preseason. The team has seemingly cemented behind him. Think he's going to get paid more than you want to see Bryce Young get fairly soon. Bryce Young QB3 here because the Sims love a 3 QB build, and whatever. It's just what I'm going to do in this team. Now, it's not a compelling case, but like Bryce Young at 162 is too cheap. Bryce Young should be a riser right now. Like with how this preseason has looked for him, where that offense, I think, has looked as good as you would hope for Carolina to look. I don't think they're like a Super Bowl contender by any stretch, but Coker looked good that first game with him. Second game, maybe not as much of a runaway success for anybody. And Tet's banged up right now. He's got a hamstring. I think that's not serious, but it's not great. But Bryce Young's going to run a little. If you're talking about him versus Darnold, the job is more secure for Bryce Young. Anyway. And Robert Griffin III's opinion, JJ should have been in the 130s, 140s all season. I think that's fair. I think that's fair too. Is Judy a better pick now with Flacco at QB1? Yes, but I wouldn't make his ADP come up. The assumption was it was going to be most likely Flacco starting anyway, so you don't want to double count that. At least for the last few weeks, I thought it was from the entire offseason. I thought it was going to be Flacco or Pickett. So I don't think it really moves things too much for me. But if it makes you feel more concrete, taking him at 70, then sure. I think Afton Chisholm holds up for New England. No, I don't. There's too many guys that need to play above him. He's a natural slot. I don't see him playing outside. And Pop has played well enough to be the starter there and to be a guy that, is moving up in ADP. You still have Kyle Williams who has to mix it at some point, and he could play out wide theoretically, but most likely you want to get him in the slot more so because that's where he'll have an actual advantage if stretching the field if he's not a fully fleshed out route runner. I mean, he might make the roster. Take him in a 20-round draft if you really feel strongly about it and you have Drake May. But I don't think he's like a legit play. You can like Afton Chisholm without it being a Boston thing, but white coat for the Boston racists, sure. I mean, look, they have had a lot of success with their, diminutive white slot guys before, so people want to chase that. There's an opportunity to do something weird here because I really, again, feel like I'm just going to have to take some dog shit receivers late. I'm going to go Isaiah Likely here and just get both Baltimore tight ends with Josh Allen. This team has just slipped away from me, to be totally honest. Like, I feel like the structure is not where I wanted it to be. Got sniped on every possible correlation with Josh Allen. Philadelphia offers us very little late to stack up with Josh Allen because of the fact they're playing in week 17 and there's nobody really legit we want to take. So 3-5-5-2 build that does not feel particularly great to me. Got good values. Structures didn't come together. I can't believe I didn't get Keon Coleman. I would have had to reach early for him to get him. Didn't get Shakir. Didn't get Josh Palmer. Kincaid, I passed up. That one I admit. Passed up Kincaid for the bet on Mark Andrews. But it's a weird team. It's so funny, too, because I drafted a team on DraftKings this morning that kind of similar to this. Like, I had good value, and the structure just fell aligned in a way where, like, it worked out really well. I forget what the team was, but I got, like, a 20-pick value on Mahomes, took him with Lamar because I was like, all right, whatever. I'll just take it's a huge discount on Mahomes. Like, I already had, I think Rashee Rice is a big value, so I was like, I might as well do it. The team aligned perfectly. This one is one where it's like, I got good values. I like most of the players. But the pockets, I've not gotten receiver good enough. I've not gotten stacking at all. Week 17 correlation at all. Which hasn't aligned well on that front. Elijah Moore and Ty Johnson late. Everybody wants to do it. There's still not like great clicks. Ty Johnson, sure. Ty Johnson is a 20-round pick. I can do that here. And I have done that a little bit more lately. Ty Johnson, with how much they paid James Cook, like he is at risk of the first guy to be squeezed. So that's somewhere in the back of your brain, I think, if you're taking Ty Johnson a lot. But yeah, it's not a good Buffalo stack. I can take injured Dawson Knox. Even Will Shipley goes here for that week 17 correlation. This cocksucker. I don't know why I'm not getting the YouTube NFL Brazil gigs, but fucking, I get draft stalkers who need to be in every DraftKings draft I do. So fun. Anthony Richardson hanging around here. We're not going to make that pick. Torrey Horton got banged up in practice. Don't love that. Alec Pierce still has upside at receiver. I'm going to take that shot here. Does feel Pierce being banged up, and I'm not sure what his practice status is. Pierce being banged up and having Daniel Jones starting are probably two things that are not great for him. A groin injury is still ongoing. Okay. Yeah, this is it. I'll take anyone at this point. I think that's fair. And I think, too, for Gabe Davis himself, you'll take anywhere at this point. Yeah. Gabe Davis, rumored to be visiting the Bills, rumored to be visiting Pittsburgh recently. Apparently, Gabe Davis is trying to get a job. And I hope it works out for you, Gabe Davis. Though I'm probably not going to take you on this Bills team in the hopes you sign there. If Gabe Davis goes to Buffalo, though, I don't think that's good for Keon Coleman. Not that it makes him... Not like Gabe Davis is going to lap him and be so much better or anything, but I think it's a bad sign for how the team feels about him. Like, I don't know why you would add Gabe Davis at this point, besides the fact he's free. But the reunions are the hot trend with Keenan Allen going back to the Chargers and that one potentially, I guess. Gabe Davis's frequent flyer miles are racking up. There you go. The AR fall from Grace is so depressing considering the amount of ejaculate we spilled over him the last 2 years. I mean, I was off for the most part last year. So it's tough. It's one of those things where I really believed him in his rookie year. And I think we got a great run out that first month. But the underlying numbers weren't strong, and then his ADP went up so much, and it was hard for me to get there. Like Jaden, he passed every test I had. I loved him as a rookie. He did everything I had to see numerically that made me want to buy in again in year 2. And I'll be, 15% Jaden Daniels this year, maybe 10 to 15, depending upon what I do at Elite QB down the home stretch. If I want to get more Josh Allen, more Lamar, I'm going to get less Jaden Daniels. So something I'm trying to balance out down the stretch. But Jaden passed all the tests. AR failed all the tests, besides just pure fantasy points. And that's a little bit hard for me to kind of, want to keep chasing after. So I don't know. I hope he figures it out. Diami Brown, bailout button at this point because we need some more receiver firepower. Diami Brown, price locked on DraftKings for, I'm sure, some very credible reasons. Nobody takes him, even though Diami Brown has had a good camp. Did not have a whole lot of preseason explosion or anything, so he hasn't moved up at all. But who has played well for Jacksonville in the preseason, I think would be the other question I would ask. Nobody really. But yeah, for AR, it's just the accuracy stuff is too bad. I mean, I mentioned it on stream months and months ago. Daniel Jones had a 15% higher accuracy than Anthony Richardson did last year. And the reports from camp are that AR has been more accurate, but he's also taken less risks as a result. I think AR has probably taken out a lot of what's good about his game now, which is where a player starts to get lost in the sauce. And it's also, too, Twitter, I saw people talking about this as well, so not an original take. But, for the Colts guys, like Shane Steichen, he's trying to save his job. And you look at these guys in practice, and you probably think Daniel Jones is a better shot of saving your job. What should it be, though, or what should be the case, is that ownership should come in. The Irsay family taking over for Jim after he passed away. They should be like, hey, this is the young guy we're investing in. They've given some positive public quotes. They should step in and go if it's close between these guys, start AR. And instead, it's it's close, but Daniel Jones, I guess, will probably get him closer to being 500. In Shane Steichen's opinion, I don't know, man. With how they handle this, I would fire everybody if I were the owners. The Colts, I think, blew his development. I thought Shane Steichen was the guy for him. I guess he wasn't. But maybe it's one of those things, too, where maybe Steichen didn't like AR as much as we thought he did, or I thought he did, because the front office drafted him. It's possible they weren't totally in lockstep there. Because the way they've kind of gone with AR, it just felt like he never got developed a scheme meant to like make him the best he could be. Like it felt like it was always protecting him from himself, whether that's running injuries or actual just like, catastrophic throwing mistakes. When in reality, he should be like, fast Jameis is what you treat him as, and build a team that can survive that. We're on the clock here. 3-5-7-2. We've made it up a little bit at receiver with guys Pierce and Dyami Brown, who are not the most exciting, but they are credible players. Round 18. Gonna go with third tight end, Theo Johnson. I think this is probably a 4 tight end room for me at this stage because we have 2 Baltimore guys with Andrews and Likely. But just wanted to make a weird bet where I don't think the Josh Allen drafter will often have Mark Andrews or Likely, let alone both. I don't think it's a good bet. I think it's a kind of bet that, like, if you rack your brain, it's something. So let's give the team a read here for the home stretch. Probably will enter on drafter soon, but I'll give you guys a heads up when we do that. We got Josh Allen, Devon Achane, Breece Hall. Again, big value on Breece Hall, still the most noteworthy part of this team. Nico Collins, Xavier Worthy, Ricky Pearsall, Mark Andrews, Jordan Addison, Jordan Mason. Again, good ADP values. Dobbins as well was a faller. Mooney got around 130. McCarthy got later than that. Eckler at 150. Bryce Young was a big faller. Likely around ADP. Pierce grabbed him. Dyami Brown grabbed him. Theo Johnson went up to get him. I think this is like it's not a bad team. It's just a nothing team. It's just like I feel nothing for them. I feel like I'm in a loveless relationship with this team. If you gave me Josh Palmer on it, I get closer to it. Give me Josh Palmer at an ADP discount. That'd be nice. No good. Yeah, we did see Marshall Tinsley going here at pick 17. I think the DraftKings handle tweeted out something because it's not run by somebody that knows best ball. Like, get your Marshall Tinsley best ball shares. Non-ironically, they tweeted that out. Don't listen to DraftKings on that one. He's not actually going to matter. Fact would think he is still probably plus 700 to make the roster. Something like that. Long ways to make the roster. The better game than Jermaine Burton's ever had. So who knows? And he probably doesn't punch women as much. So yeah, bump Mitchell Tinsley off your board. We can all agree. And his revenge game, his preseason revenge game. All right, we have a 3-5-7-3. Well, at this point, just get Ty Johnson because I'm sure somebody would love to snipe him away. Ty Johnson, RB6. I think a 4th tight end, a 7th RB, an 8th receiver, all in play here, depending upon what we get back. But all the Ty Johnson lovers out there, you could shove that Johnson in your mouth and enjoy it and savor it. Oh, 2T Johnson's late. You got 2 Johnsons to put in your mouth here. Theo Johnson and Ty Johnson. Put that Johnson in your mouth and smoke it. That's what we say here. No, Charlie Jones can't matter either. No, he can't. He can't. He's also like old too. He was old when he came in the league, and now this is year 3 for him. His best shot was in there doing like the Trenton Irwin thing, was to be new Trenton Irwin. He didn't get there. It's preseason. It's you're paying trillions of dollars to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's how it goes. Put Johnson in a butt this weekend. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. You're really about this post. Our guy Robert Griffin III. I wanted to say too much of your personal life. Post divorce Robert Griffin III. Really just about butt stuff a lot, huh? Where you, like, what's going on, man? You like whatever you like. I'm not yucking your yum. Just interesting to note is all. It's like I'm finally free from the shackles. I can just stick it in people's butts. Again, not to yuck your yum. Last pick here. We'll head over to drafters next. I should do it right now, actually. Let's see how many spots we have. I'm going to pick Harold Fannin here if he didn't just go. Can't see the window. All right, we got 10 spots on drafters. So please join on drafters now. I'm in the room waiting for you all. Harold Fannin, come on down. All right, final team here on DraftKings, and please head over to Drafters now. 9 spots available in this Drafters draft, and I have to sit here while it fills, so please hop on board here. Take advantage of that sweet potential overlay. We got Josh Allen stacked up with Ty Johnson, big stack. We got Devon Achane, Breece Hall, Nico Collins, Xavier Worthy, Ricky Pearsall. Interesting top 3. Not a usual top 3 for me, but it's a team. I feel like the Nico Xavier Worthy part I could do. Ricky Pearsall should not be a wide receiver 3, I feel, now that I'm looking at this team. Tight end, Mark Andrews, Jordan Addison, Jordan Mason as well. We got J.J. McCarthy, Darnell Mooney, J.K. Dobbins, all of them nice little ADP values, so I'm happy with those parts of the board. Austin Eckler, think way too undervalued with the Brian Robinson stuff going on right now. He's not coming back. It's the main thing to keep in mind, it seems, barring something incredibly strange. Bryce Young, big ADP value as well. Don't need the third QB with an elite QB. But when he's that cheap, I'm sure the Sims would support taking Bryce Young at that point. Isaiah Likely, part of our weirdo Baltimore tight end bet with Josh Allen, because you never see Mark Andrews taken alongside Josh Allen, let alone Likely and Mark Andrews. Alec Pierce, Diami Brown, Theo Johnson, Ty Johnson, and Harold Fannin. I think I got good value out of the late rounds. Like Ty Johnson makes sense for this team. Harold Fannin, a tight end 4, some upside there. He'll be in the mix. It's all good. But it's a weird team. Like there's a team last week. I feel like people were leaving me comments. A couple of you guys sent DMs going like, "Whoa, it was a great DraftKings team." And I agreed. I really thought that team was good. This team I don't think is bad, and I think I got some nice values, but the structure just is fucking weird. Save that Johnson for the meetup. That's we gotta save lots of Johnsons all up in everybody's mouths at the Splash Play meetup, spelled with an A, not 2 E's. Heading to Vegas next week. This is my last week of drafting. I think Drafters is another promo. Probably on the weekend, if I had to guess. Seems to be the way they do things, but I haven't heard. I emailed them asking about the deposit re-up too, and nothing on that. So I don't know. I don't know if they're trying a lot of stuff, but it's not seemingly not changing the promotional tactics. From what I heard through the grapevine, they were paying 4 for 4. Drafters was to get people to put drafters data on like sheets and stuff, like data sheets and whatever, like some of the guys like that sell their data or whatever for best ball tournaments. I don't know what I don't know. They're trying something. The good news is it is a guaranteed prize pool, so no matter how drafters does, they still have to pay out that money to you, so just keep that in mind. Anyway, 4 spots left here. It's also the quiet part of it should be the quiet part of preseason right now, where like we know for the most part all the news we're going to know. We know who's running ahead of whom. The last week of preseason too, one thing to keep in mind, and I think there's a few teams like the Chiefs have said they're going to play starters for whatever, probably a drive. Teams might do that, but like for the most part, you've seen the starters play. Everything else is just going to be like pure dress rehearsal for the preseason games and young guys going trying to win a roster spot. This should be the quiet time. But like with stuff like the Daniel Jones starting, markets were definitely moving in favor of Anthony Richardson starting for the Colts this year in week 1 at the very least. You also saw like obviously the Krosky Merritt, Brian Robinson stuff. There's been a lot more like late things moving around than I feel like is usually the case, besides injuries, which are always hanging over our head like a sword of Damocles. But it's been a weird home stretch here where like, I don't know. Losing CLV on Joe Mixon, losing CLV on Brian Robinson, losing CLV on Chris Godwin, no matter what. I've made my peace with that. If you work out your Johnson, there's nothing to save. The Johnson will have infinite energy and no refractory. Thank you. Thank you. There are going to be cuts and maybe trades. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I really would like the Brian Robinson thing to have some conclusion, though, because like, I don't know where's most logical for him to go. Everybody's going to say Houston. But like, I don't think that's necessarily the case. And if that's not the case, he could go anywhere. And if Brian Robinson goes somewhere that we don't foresee, he could really shake up ADP more than you would want to see. And I don't like that hanging over me. Like if Brian Robinson goes to Dallas, all those backs are dead. I don't think he would. Like I don't think Dallas would make that move. But if he did, it would just be fucked up. Do you think the answer is Miami? Tyreek doesn't have any sway there. And frankly, like, it's a tough part for guys like Brian Robinson. Like, you know what it is? It's kind of like in the NBA where you have the big men who can't shoot or rim protect well enough, and like you can't have them on the court in the playoffs. So it's like, what is the real value of those guys? I think that's sort of the issue with like Brian Robinson in general, is that he's not a special player. He does nothing that's like outside the norm. He's just a competent back, and like those backs I think matter. Like I think to me it's more like a high usage player in basketball where it's like this guy's got to get X amount of shots up. We know that this player is going to get them up and they'll be efficient enough, and that matters. I think it's the same thing for running back. We're having a running back that can take 15 touches and they're not going to totally fuck you up. They're not going to kill you. Like usually that has value. But like if I'm Miami, I have Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon's probably younger Brian Robinson. Like I don't think it's that much of a difference. Brian Robinson has a little bit of a higher pedigree in terms of playing at Bama, but like Ollie Gordon produced more. So I don't know. I think that's really the tough part for me, is that I just don't know where he's an upgrade, even though I don't think he's a bad back. And then the teams too, like where you have holes at running back or like something you could add in, like in New Orleans, like do they want to bring in a back when the team's going nowhere anyway? Like probably not. Denver would have made sense before they added Dobbins, but now they have Dobbins. Straight line runner like him, I think would have been somewhat useful. We got Bijan Robinson at pick 3. I think this is an easy click to make at this point. Not trying to up my CD Lamb on drafters as much as I may on other platforms, even though full point PPR, I think Lamb on drafters probably does play better than to me on Underdog, but happy to get Bijan at this stage of things. Think he is now clearly our top back according to ADP in every draft room besides this one where our guy KY takes Gibbs at 2. So Bijan Robinson, pick 3, easy click. Think Dallas is a spot for Robinson. Yeah, those guys are just that bad. Yeah, I don't know. I think to me, Brian Robinson grades out very similarly to Javonte Williams, except that teams don't think Brian Robinson is a pass catcher, and they, at least Denver last year, used Javonte as a pass blocker / guy on third downs more than you would expect to see. So I don't know. I don't even think that he's technically an improvement there, but it's a possibility. He can go anywhere and it wouldn't shock me. And he can go anywhere and pick up red zone touches that have high value, and it wouldn't shock me either. But I think it requires like a specific kind of coach at this point. And it's tough too, because he's in his rookie deal and like he probably wants to get paid some amount of money. Like he scored touchdowns last year. He had not as many merits as Kyron, not as many merits as James Cook. But I think if you're his reps, like you could make the case that like, oh yeah, you could ask for $8 million. And I honestly, if I had to guess, I think that's what happened. Again, I've talked about it earlier in the video. If you missed it, you want to scroll back, you can. Talked at length about the Washington situation and what went down there. And again, the reporter, Ben Standig, who got it right more than anybody, so full credit to him. And I would say, if the guy got it right the first time, you follow him a little bit more, even though I did watch like a 20-minute video of him after the game yesterday that he put up some video on his Substack. And it's just him like, this is great reporting by me. It's great for my career and my Substack. Really made me like him a little bit less, but he got it right, so whatever. But he was saying something to the effect of like Brian Robinson had other issues that the coaching staff that, Adam Peters and Dan Quinn might not talk about, like probably won't talk about, but there's something else there. And I think your brain would go like, oh, he's lazy maybe, or like, and that's possible too. Like he's lazy, or he had something off the field they didn't like, was late or something like that. They don't want to say that now to submarine his trade value if that's the issue. But it also could be that his team is like his reps just asked for a new deal. And they were like, no, we don't like, we're planning on moving on from you as soon as we possibly could. And then they found out through that process. I think that's possible. Like, I think it's just more that like, he probably thought he was worth actual money, and which is like the worst situation to be in. Like that's like the worst feeling of where you think you have leverage. And then it's like, never mind, you're like, you lose your job entirely. So I feel for Brian Robinson. So I think it's relatable. Fired on your day off kind of stuff. I did see that too. That Peters and Dan Quinn thought he ran like a bitch at the back end of the season. They thought he wasn't aggressive enough getting upfield. I'm sure that's a factor as well. I mean, look, there could be a litany of factors here. Bijan Robinson still here. Chase Brown floating a little bit past ADP. I don't think a Bijan Chase Brown combo is that unique, but I've played a lot of Bijan Bucky combos no matter what side I've been on. I could do a Bijan Chase Brown combo here and try to get a similar feel for it. So that's a start here. RB Piggy start. I'll play the GIF. This is why they don't want to hire me to go to Brazil. They're like, this guy drafts too many running backs these days. He's lost the flair. And I think they'd be correct. Can't imagine a world where I don't leave with 2 running backs. That's what an RB piggy is. Honestly, might be 3 running backs looking at the board. I don't think if T. Higgins goes, I'm not pulling up Tyreek Hill. I'll tell you that much. This is awful. ADPs have shifted on DraftKings and drafters in such a way that the spots now feel different. Like I used to love picking in this spot. I used to love getting 2s through 5s because you could kind of take 2 running backs and go on a huge run at other positions. Now, I think I have to go either running back again or elite QB. And I'm not going to be mad about taking Lamar Jackson. I don't think I'd be mad taking Omarion Hampton. I don't think I'd be mad taking Kyron Williams either. But I think Lamar here, 4 total points format where we're playing no playoff pods, just the full scoring here. I think Lamar is a good pick to take when I just don't want any of the receivers. I'm not taking Tyreek Hill. I've got like fucking 1% Tyreek Hill, and that's not changing down the home stretch. Jalen Waddle would have to die, I think, for Tyreek Hill to move up for me. Yeah, I've got 1% Tyreek Hill and Underdog. Let's see. 1.4% on DraftKings. Not a share of Tyreek on drafters. So if you, when we see Tyreek going for 50 points a week, and it's like, oh man, everybody threw Tyreek Hill at the scrap heap, and now he's the best receiver in football. You can look at me and you can laugh because I'm not buying it for a fucking moment. Do 4 RBs make last week's drafts that one guy did? Yeah. Like people liked a lot when I drafted like 3 RBs on stream before in a row. So who knows? They would have hosted me for 0. That's true. Brazil would have loved 0 RB Fridays. Unfortunately, that holiday got canceled because I didn't want to lose money drafting 0 RB teams by force every week. I have like no Waddle either. I don't believe in Miami. I hate Miami as a team this year. Thought they went the wrong way last year. The one case I would make for them is that their defense is going to be probably dog shit this year. And like the Cincinnati effect of that, where we could see that offense be better and have to pass a lot is possible. But I think they're just a doomed team. I didn't love the vibes last year. I take Achane. I'm happy with Achane. I take Waller because he's free. But I think the Miami priors are priced into Tyreek and Waddle. And those guys were, in terms of the roles they had, the target earning per route, stuff like that, that I think is really important. The efficiency metrics. Waddle was still okay efficiency-wise last year. Tyreek was not. Tyreek fell off the cliff. And I don't want to be holding the bag for the guy who fell off the cliff. So yeah, not a believer in Miami. But cool with Achane, cool with Waller. Those guys have a good amount of. You see Waddle. I also have no Waddle on drafters, so not buying the total points for any of the Miami players. I've got 2% Waddle on DraftKings and 1% on Underdog. I've just been fading Miami entirely. Which projection-wise, I'll admit, maybe not the best approach. I just think, and it's funny too, because like I like Mike McDaniel. I think if I were a coach, I'd probably come off like Mike McDaniel, maybe not as much of a try-hard in terms of like the, trying to look cool and look cute and all that stuff. But try to be quippy and trying to be sarcastic and trying to think like I'm the smartest guy in the room. I just think he's gotten incredibly exposed in a way that makes me feel like uncomfortable. And I feel that way pretty strongly. So yeah, Miami is one of my biggest fades of the year, but certainly you can take them. Not going to yell at you. A lot of people like Waddle that I respect. And I think Waddle had like a 0.36 EPA per target last year, but 19.4% target per out run. Like you're talking Ricky Pearsall range for a guy who's getting paid fucking $40 million a year. It doesn't make sense. The offense doesn't make sense to me. But that's one of those bets that I'm so heavily against that it'd be one of the easy ways that they go on a hot run to start the season and I'm like fucking not advancing teams or something. Who knows? Great spot for a receiver. We got DJ Moore, McLaurin, Cortland Sutton here. I still like DJ Moore. Obviously, a lot of Olamide Zaccheaus opportunity in that first Bears preseason game where we saw the entire cast. But the big thing to me, like we talked about with Chicago, and then remember a couple of weeks ago, people were like, oh, Chicago, Twitter, fucking people were freaking out going, oh, every Chicago player sucks. The offense is going to be bad. They figured it out. They kind of gave Caleb Williams too much that he couldn't handle. They figured out what he can handle. As a result, he had a really clean preseason game. It's a preseason. It doesn't mean everything, but like that's what I think what you're buying in on when you get Chicago. I'm willing to take whoever from that offense, Moore, Odunze. Not so much Zacchaeus. I'd still rather make the Burden bet, but I think DJ Moore for me, happy to keep taking him. Cortland Sutton comes back. Calvin Ridley was probably the best preseason show out of all these guys. I'm going to go Sutton. I feel like I'm getting a lot of Sutton these days because people don't seem to want to take him at ADP. And if he goes back to me and I'm at pick 50 to 55, I think Sutton's definitely a little bit too cheap at that spot. Just might be a little bit of a price lock thing. But Sutton's a wide receiver 1 in a range full of wide receiver 2s. So I don't know. I think Sutton should be an easy click if he gets to 50 and you're there. So Cortland Sutton, my wide receiver 2 here with my Lamar, Bijan Robinson, Chase Brown start, and then DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton at receiver. Zero RB is dead until Keon Coleman and everyone before him gets pushed into the 60s. Sure. I mean, with how ADPs are moving right now, I think the Keon Coleman tier is a little bit too expensive. When you could get, you absorb some risk, you take Darnell Mooney. I mean, theoretical risk rather. And you take Darnell Mooney, and he should still play week 1. Take on actual risk with Chris Godwin. I think he's a more credible wide receiver 4 or 5. That's how I feel about it. Eric has 15% Waddle. No one will let me take Hill, so now I'm 4%. All right, so you believe in Miami. I think that's fair. I don't. I unfortunately can't get there. Like, there's teams too where like Dallas, I don't really buy into Dallas. I think that, and frankly too, nobody's keying on the fact like Joe Milton had that awful game for Dallas, and and the coaches defended him too, as a coach should. But like, I don't think the offense looked good in that game. I don't think that was all Joe Milton's fault. Joe Milton certainly got flaws too, so if you want to blame him, you could. But I'm not a believer in Dallas. I still take Dallas though because I don't want to be left. Because like not a lot of people believe in Dallas, and I think are sharp and have made credible cases for CeeDee Lamb and Pickens and all that. So I've been trying to take them. Miami though, it's the opposite way, where it's like I think people have liked Waddle and they made credible cases for it. I just look at the numbers and I just see nothing from last year. Like last year for Miami was so bad. The biggest case you can make for me for Miami would be like that Jonnu Smith was like a black hole who kind of sucked in a lot of targets that now don't go to Waller. They end up just getting redistributed and everybody looks better as a result. And maybe Achane too got too many targets last year as a running back. But like Achane's role was like, he got targeted as much as, he got targeted more per route than Waddle did. Achane had a 25% target per route run, which I believe was higher than Tyreek. It was dead even with Tyreek at 25%, and then Waddle was at 20. So that's my Miami issue, I guess. Sum it up. I haven't talked a lot about Miami because they're just not top of mind for me. There was another quote after that, Eric, where he said he's on pace and should be back soon. So it's important to follow all the news, not just take one quote and overreact to it. Tony Pollard here to make up at RB. Not that we need it with Bijan Robinson and Chase Brown. Chris Olave felt like the design target share that New Orleans had in that game is making me think about these guys more for PPR with Olave and Shaheed. I believe they combined had 6 targets that were near the line of scrimmage in that game, which is more than most teams in football create for their players. Olave and Shaheed, not players I like because the team's going to be good, but are players that I think in a PPR offense can make more sense for New Orleans. And New Orleans is probably going to be awful this year. So there'll be opportunity for these guys. The big issue for Olave and Shaheed, I think it's a bigger issue in the pod sites where by the time we get to week 17, New Orleans might not be playing for much. For total points format, though, I think Olave and Shaheed could start hot because that offense might do some creative stuff. Juwan Jennings falling in a room right now, I think is still, to me, the most appealing option, given the fact that our next receiver up is going to be Keon Coleman. We just don't need anything else here. Pacheco, I'm not buying either. It's getting first team work for the Chiefs, so if you can buy Pacheco, I just think the talent level dropped off a cliff last year. So that's going to be how I go here with receiver. Lamar Jackson, Bijan Robinson, Chase Brown at receiver, DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Chris Olave, Juwan Jennings. Highest owned wide receiver this year. Let's see. On Underdog right now, it's Deebo Samuel. Number 2 is Keenan Allen. Number 3, Rashad Bateman. Number 4 is Darnell Mooney. So there we go. But Darnell Mooney, again, he's seemingly on pace to be there week 1. Penix has said the same thing too. Really bad process to take one quote and just have that in your brain and file it away for a player. But a lot of people are doing it with Mooney, so I get it. He went at 130 this morning in a DraftKings Millionaire draft I did. But Mooney's going to play. If you don't like him as a player, you don't like the bet, fine. Mooney's too cheap. But I'm losing CLV on him anyway. Let's see. So that's my Underdog top exposed receivers. On Drafters, my top receivers. Unfortunately, Godwin is my number 1 guy. Took him a lot earlier in the drafters cycle. And I've taken the dip as well. So that's not helped me out. Mims, Juwan Jennings, Diami Brown. Those are my top drafters, guys. Keon Coleman is number 5 for me on drafters. Tied with Keenan Allen. Surprised by that. I should also show the screen here. Here's my receiver exposures. Again, Best Ball Explorer is what I'm using for this stuff. And then on DraftKings, top receivers, Keenan Allen. Pre the ADP fall, you can see my average pick is 189.5. That's crazy. He's come up 70 spots. I didn't realize he was that high on DraftKings. Zay Flowers, number 2. Odunze, number 3. Diami Brown, number 4. Jamar Chase, number 5. So there you go. And then a BBM, I've got 19 teams left to do. Drafters, I'll probably get in another 15 to 20. That might be a lot. Definitely another 15. I'm trying to get to 50 on Drafters, even if I have to do some off stream. Then DraftKings probably gets to 75. In BBM, that is. 22% T. That's a lot of T. It's a lot of T. Eric making some big stance. 26% London. I love London. Though again, it's like this is the thing, to Eric. Like you're flooding Mooney and you like London. I don't think that's the way to play best ball. But like London's going to be one of the best target earners in football this year. Like I've said that on stream many times. So I'm with you on that. London last year with Penix, I think got to 35% target per out run in just the games with Penix. Overall, he finished over 30 anyway, including the Kirk Cousins time. Camp's been great for him. He's looked good in the preseason as well from what we've seen, or at least inter squad scrimmages and things like that. I think London is, to me, the best dark horse candidate to be wide receiver 1 this year. But because he's going to be so good and Penix is a willing downfield thrower, if that happens and London is really good, by the time he gets to week 17, if Mooney's out there playing, a Rams defense that's good up front but not a good secondary, Mooney has a very good shot at spiking for the games that matter the most. So that's also part of why I like Mooney a lot, is I believe in Drake London a good amount. So that all goes hand in hand for me. But I believe in Atlanta's offense a lot. If I could get the entire stack more frequently without getting sniped on one of 2 parts of it, I would love to do that. I feel like Pitts I never get, though. All right, we have 2 running backs, 4 receivers. I think we've made it up fairly well at receiver at this point. Josh Downs has the hamstring injury, so he's after ADP. I'm just going to go Bo Nix here. Really don't feel any particular kind of way about Josh Downs. The hamstring thing spooks me enough, but really Indianapolis guys, just not a team that's ever been a priority for me, because I think a lot of these guys do the exact same route tree besides A.D. Mitchell and Alec Pierce, who should be outside and downfield. But for Downs, for Warren, for Pittman, they're all eating off that same intermediate range plate, and it doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence these guys at their ADPs. If Downs comes all the way back, I'd probably consider him more. But it's not really priority guys for me. And Downs doesn't come back anyway. So Evan Ingram here, tight end, I think for this team makes sense. Could do Chris Godwin as wide receiver 5. I'm still happy to kind of absorb that. Chris Godwin's a huge stand for me on drafters, and I'm just going to die on that hill, even though a total points format, definitely less appealing than a pod format. But Evan Ingram here, I think works well enough. So we've got, still feeling good about the RB room because we took Bijan Robinson and Chase Brown. So those guys, if they pay off at ADP, have to be good. At receiver, DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Chris Olave, Juwan Jennings. So we now have a Denver double stack as well with Evan Ingram. And Lamar, would love to get some correlation here, but didn't think it was time to go reachy. So we got what we got. I think Mooney's a little bit less valuable on PPR. Sure. It's just a leverage bet on Drake London, though. I think London's going to be one of the most important players of the fantasy football year, if not the real life football year. Like, I don't think it would shock me to hear him get talked about as like a guy who's just behind that Jefferson group of guys. Puka, I also think has a similar range of outcomes. But again, it's just a belief in Atlanta's offense and Penix. And if London gets really good, Mooney's going to get good as just a proxy to kind of absorb attention away. That's one of my beliefs. Ingram over Tyler Warren in general, or just because of Bo? Because of Bo on this team, I think I would still have Ingram ahead of Tyler Warren too. I like Tyler Warren's talent a lot. I just really think the fact that he, Downs, and Pittman are going to be doing the exact same thing in terms of the route tree, I don't think it's a great thing. Warren's a great yards after catch guy. That's something that Downs has a little bit. Pittman's got none of. So like Warren might be the best out of that group. And I guess that wouldn't be shocking to me. But it's just like it's a crowded room. It's a crowded room for a team that I think mostly wants a game manager in there for Daniel Jones. And certainly they want him to be accurate. They want him to be better passing than AR was, or else why would they start him? But they want him to like protect the ball. And I don't think you're going to be slinging it relentlessly. I don't even think you're going to be slinging it as much as Flacco did. And Flacco, for people really thought like, oh, he would be a game changer for the offense. He certainly was better for Downs, better for Pittman, better for everybody besides Alec Pierce. He still wasn't like great for that offense, and he wasn't like a high volume offense or anything for the pass game. So I don't know. Not a big believer in Indianapolis. I think also, if I were to say coach is getting fired, it sucks because I really like Shane Steichen and what he did in Philadelphia. Steichen's got to be top of the list for guys getting fired this year, I would think. Indianapolis had a lot of patience in the past, so maybe not. But I don't know. That team is a fucking mess. I'm still not clicking Pacheco. Pretty sure I haven't picked him once all summer. No, he might be even lower than my Dolphins exposure. He just was so bad last year. And again, people want to say Brian Robinson's bad. You know what? I'll defend this take. If Brian Robinson got Isaiah Pacheco's role on the Chiefs, he would be a top 10 back because like he can actually do the power back stuff that Pacheco just kind of pantomimes doing because he moves his arms fast and whatever. He was awful. He didn't miss tackles last year. He was a negative EPA player in passing and rushing. The goal line work as well flowed away from him too. Only had 1.4 red zone rushes a game, so they didn't trust him there. I just don't know what you're getting when you win with Pacheco. With what he's been as a player. So that's that for me. Rashad Bateman comes back. Thank God. Was praying that in my head the entire time. So Bateman here stacked up with Lamar. Finally, a wide receiver here. Correlated to one of our elite QBs here with Lamar Jackson. So 2 QBs, Lamar Jackson, Bo Nix. Only 2 RBs, Bijan Robinson and Chase Brown, though. So looking like we're going to hit some RBs coming up potentially. But we'll see. With Bijan and Chase Brown, I've got a lot of luxury right now at running back. So I'm cool with it. 0% Pacheco, just can't. I think a lot of people feel this way. Fully agree on that take. I mean, that's the thing that surprises me is like Pacheco has held steady with this like 70 to 80 ADP. And like, is it because people saw him go that, really high last year? I'm not sure about that. Quinshad Judkins here, just not a player I want to click still. He has not signed a contract yet because he thinks he deserves guaranteed money and he's not going to get it. So it's a weird impasse. I think I'm going to go 6th receiver. So we started receiver late. So let's just get the Denver full stack here. All of our Denver pass catching starters. Would have thought about Braylon Allen more, but I think Mims makes this team a little bit better at receiver in a way that I need. So Lamar Jackson, Bo Nix, our RBs are still Bijan Robinson and Chase Brown. We took studs. We're letting them be studs here. Have not taken an RB since. At receiver, DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Chris Olave, Juwan Jennings, Rashad Bateman, and Marvin Mims. And a tight end, Evan Ingram. If Bijan Robinson and Chase Brown are healthy, and obviously that's always, the big risk point, I like this team a lot. If one of them goes down even for a month, this team is fucked. But that's nothing, nothing crazy. That's just how the structure works. And I can live with it on the team. I think this is better. I like this build so far better than the DraftKings team I just built, where like, even though that one, I think the draft capital buckets might have been more mathematically correct. I think this team has more of a logical feel to it than that one did. Have to take Pacheco sometimes, but it is low. And he loves the guy for some reason. Yeah, I don't know. I just like, again, the Chiefs are a team where they literally, I worked with them in Football Outsiders. Like they paid 75 grand to get data from Football Outsiders the year they won a Super Bowl last. Like they know analytics. They have a guy. The guy we worked with was very smart about analytics. They're their lead there. So they must know he had a 5% avoided tackle rate, which would be the least juice of anybody in football, basically. Like Zach Moss last year had 8%. Actually, you know what? Let's, for just the thought exercise, who had less juice than Isaiah Pacheco last year? Going to sort by avoided tackle rate. The largest to smallest. And let's see, where's Pacheco? All right, Pacheco with a 5% avoided tackle rate. This can't be correct. There are only 5 players who qualify on my list of data, which includes like, I think 1,000 names on this list, had less avoided tackles than Isaiah Pacheco. Those names, Will Levis had 4.7%. Jameis Winston, when he was running, had 4.2%. Ezekiel Elliott, when he ran the ball, 4.1% avoided tackle rate. Deontay Foreman, 2.9%. Jamal Williams, 2.1. That's it. That's it's out of everybody who had a qualifying amount of carries, including QBs. Isaiah Pacheco is only ahead of those people. He's also behind Geno Smith, who had a 5% avoided tackle rate. Behind Jared Goff, who had 5.3. Behind Roshan Johnson, who had 5.5. Poor Roshan. Man, I hate burying Roshan as part of this, but it's not great. Tight end here with Pitts. I do want to get more Pitts, but Dylan Sampson is still an okay click. I can do that. Dylan Sampson obviously going to get threatened by Quinshon Judkins at some point. That said, I just think the situation is not as solidified as people thought when Judkins got his way out of the charges. There's still evidence supporting him being a domestic abuser. He could still be on the commissioner's exempt list. There's a lot of things that could not work out. But I was going to think about either taking him or Tyjae. Then I was like, I could take both, and I am going to do both here. Tyjae Spears, still a guy I believe in, should be back, if not week 1. Doesn't seem like he's trending towards the PUP list. So Tyjae Spears, RB4 here on this team that hopefully doesn't even need an RB4 with Bijan Robinson and Chase Brown. But we got to take one anyway. So Lamar Jackson, Bo Nix, Bijan Robinson, Chase Brown, Dylan Sampson, Tyjae Spears. So making it up a little bit at RB here. Receiver room started late, but I think rounded out pretty well with DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Chris Olave, Juwan Jennings, Rashad Bateman, Marvin Mims, and then tight end Evan Ingram. I like this team. I'm happy with how this has gone so far. And I think better than that DraftKings team. I just didn't have a good feel for that one. Pacheco did play in a bad leg injury. He didn't have one when he started the year, and it wasn't good. Yeah, Roshan was really bad last year. It is what it is. Roshan's one of my guys. I'd still take the shot on him because I think he brings something to the table for Chicago that they don't have. But he was as bad. If we're looking at guys who are like replacement level bad, you know, like a Brian Robinson, people feel like he is. These are guys that actually are. Kareem Hunt also had a higher avoided tackle rate than Isaiah Pacheco. He was at 5.5%. Hassan Haskins, 5.9. Russell Wilson at 6.1. Joe Burrow at 6.5. Will Shipley at 6.7. Will Shipley, no juice. Didn't in college either. Didn't have any juice at Clemson. I don't have 2023 data in front of me, and I'm not going to pull it up. Just not something I have on my sheet. It was better than that, though. I think he was like mid-tier, like 10% and change, 10 to 15, if I had to guess. Wow, True Serum, 0% Roshan, 17% Monin guy. I hate that. I hate that. I hate to hear that as well. Roshan hasn't earned a role. I will say that for him. The only thing that would keep him there is just the inertia of it still being the same front office that drafted him. And again, he is like physically an impressive guy. Like he's got good size. In college, he was really shifty. He hasn't shown it, didn't show it at all last year. Hasn't shown it overall in the pros. But he was like a 33% avoided tackle rate in college, getting a workload similar to Travion Henderson. So he actually avoided more tackles relative to that than Henderson did, because Henderson's like a 20% guy. So I think there's still some merit to Roshan, but you know, foot injury, he's not out there. Monin guy is also hurt though, so that's not great. Who was the guy that scored 2 touchdowns for him over the week? Ian Wheeler, I think, was the down the depth chart guy that did well for him. Realistically, the part that sucks for Roschon is like, I think he would do well in that offense. Whoever plays in that offense, though, who gets running back touches is probably going to play pretty well, as the reality of the situation as I view it. Hunter Henry fallen here. I like Brenton Strange more than Hunter Henry, so I'm just going to go Brenton Strange. All things being equal in ADP, I think Strange looks good. We got one more pick coming up here. Would be happy to take more at RB, but we don't need it. Receiver, always can add some more there. 20 pick ADP discount on Kyle Williams, who is at this stage running the Jalen Polk speed around for himself. Rico Dowdle goes. That's a nice little click. I mean, I think at this stage, Kyle Williams doesn't have any catastrophic injury or anything, right? Undisclosed injury. All right. I'm going to take Kyle Williams. 20 spots after ADP. Doesn't excite me that much, but he's my wide receiver 7, so he doesn't have to. Team so far, Lamar Jackson, Bo Nix, Bijan Robinson, Chase Brown, Dylan Sampson, Tyjae Spears. A lot of volume at receiver because we didn't start with receiver for the first 3 rounds. DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Chris Olave, Juwan Jennings, Rashad Bateman, Marvin Mims, and now Kyle Williams, who people once loved, and now he's going to pick 170. Evan Engram, Brenton Strange. All right. That's a team. That team will play. That dog will hunt. This is one of the most inaccurate takes. Green checkmark. Roschon's the Kendre Miller of the North. No. In fact, there's a much more obvious comp. Marshawn Lloyd is your Kendre Miller of the North. Roschon, though, would be the silver medal of that. But no, it's obviously Marshawn. Are you kidding me? And I love Marshawn, but now another hamstring injury. After, by the way, I said this in the Discord, 30-yard wheel route catch for Marshawn that like 5 guys in the league at running back can make. And then he hurts himself, gets hit hard in that. People thought it was a concussion. No, it's another hamstring injury. I'm going to die on the hill of Marshawn still. I'll have like somewhere around 10 to 15% by the end of it all. But Marshawn is like your Kendre Miller. And down to the fact, too, that both guys, shifty, high avoided tackle rate guys, both would be kings in another reality. I still think, for what it's worth, the official Marshawn Lloyd take, he's still draftable. Maybe not so much on drafters, total points format, but like, you tell me you get to week 17, Marshawn Lloyd has been healthy somehow for a month. You're rolling in with him having a shot at, Jacobs, whether he's healthy or not, but especially if he's not healthy. Marshawn Lloyd could spike a huge upside, in particular in a game versus Baltimore, where you might need to get creative, have some guys who can actually break big plays because the game could be a little bit of a slog. Marshawn Lloyd still has utility. Is it Cope? Sure. I just wish he could fucking play. Marshawn Lloyd is like, if he doesn't stay healthy this year or, get healthy and like play a meaningful amount this year, he's going to be one of the biggest what ifs I'll have because like he grades out to me, to be a special potential player with the athletic testing, the avoided tackle ability. Didn't show it on the field last year for the limited sample size. Wish he had given me a little bit in the pros to be like, this is really what I'm digging my heels in on. But in college, like he had a level of juice that very few guys have, and that people talk themselves into guys with like much less ability just to miss tackles and create monster plays. So yeah, feel so bad for Lloyd and my bag. Same. But again, like I'll take it as RB6. My team can't survive with him being hurt again. It is what it is. But I wish he played. Certainly do wish he played. How far up does Igbuka fly? I mean, he shouldn't go up much higher. Like, I feel he's safe, but it's like his upside and his now safe downside is all fully priced in. If he starts going, I mean, where did he go here on drafters? He went 59. So he went ahead of Waddle here. Actually, no. Yeah, ahead of Waddle. Ahead of Debo. Like, I would worry about that. Ahead of Travis Hunter. He's safer than Hunter now, I think. Ahead of Diggs, ahead of Golden. Yeah, that's fair. Him going here is fine. If he goes past Ridley, Zay Flowers, Jamison Williams in any rooms, I don't think that's the right price. I think that's wrong. He's got to literally step on the field and be Chris Godwin from last year for you to feel good about this pick now. And I think people are really missing that. And there's a shot. There's a shot that he is that. But I don't think it's a guarantee by any stretch. Third tight end correlates with Lamar here. Isaiah Likely in round 17 feels pretty good. Round 16 feels pretty good. But yeah, I think Igbuka, if he goes up any higher, I don't see how you click him. I'd be willing to click Henderson rising to like the stupid level he's at more than I would Igbuka going top 50. I think we're getting to be a little aggressive with him. And like Igbuka, again, I don't want to be the one that like pisses on the parade. I get we're excited, like people are excited about him. The markets in general are excited for him. I took a lot of Godwin, so I'm not excited for him. But I think the big thing for him is like out of all the Ohio State guys that have come out in the last few years, to me, he easily grades out the least good. Like he didn't earn targets as well as Marvin Harrison, didn't earn them as well as like Olave, other guys that have been there. And he's just kind of a pure slot. I don't know. I think he does better than McMillan did last year, for sure. But I don't think he should go top 50. We're on the clock here, though. We really don't need this pick, but I feel like the team's good enough at this stage, and I don't think anybody on the board is going to make it that different. So I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers for QB3. Just the sim data has really supported 3 QB builds enough that I'm kind of tacking them on whenever it's feasible. And with the RB room, having Bijan, having Chase Brown, then we add on Sampson and Spears, guys who have at least partial roles for their team. I'm cool with the room as it is. I could still scam a couple RBs late that people aren't going to click that I feel okay with. But Rodgers, if we had Lamar go down for any period of time, Rodgers gives us some points. Might be able to add another player to correlate with him as well. I think Rodgers makes sense for this team. So I just don't know what else I really need. More week one fantasy points. Sterling Shepard or Tez Johnson? Shepard. Tez Johnson's not going to get on the field. He's too small to play a lot. I guess for a week 1 bet, if you wanted to make it, it'd be that Tez somehow gets schemed a touch or something, like a red zone touch and scores a touchdown. But I don't think that would be Sterling Shepard. Like looked legitimately a part of the offense in that game, the preseason game rather over the weekend. Did like Tez Johnson's numbers in college, but he's too small. Too small and ended up being a dog shit athlete. It's a tough combo. It would be funny though if like Igbuka becomes chalk in week 1 because people are carrying that best ball stuff in the DFS. And then you're like, oh, Igbuka is going to be 20% owned. And then probably at that point, I mean, Mike Evans would be the most appealing, obviously. K. Dotton, second most appealing. But like Shepard hitting relatively, that'd be a funny outcome. Tez Johnson hitting would be a funnier outcome, but I don't think that's likely. I don't know what Igbuka's price is on DraftKings for week 1, though. I don't recall what that is offhand. I've not spent enough time on the week 1 DFS slate yet, which I don't think you expect me to either. Let's see. What's Igbuka's price tag? 4,600. Probably not enough to make him super chalk, but I bet he gets 10 to 15% played at least. All right, we're on the clock. Roshan came all the way back. I feel like Roshan's just like a dog that needs a home now. I think we can just take Roshan and go, all right, buddy, we're adopting him. Roshan Johnson, RB5. How the non-mighty have fallen. How the 5% avoided tackle rate guys have fallen. Again, still a world where Roshan is just a guy plowing away touchdowns this year. You don't have to, it doesn't take a lot to do that. DeAndre Hopkins came back as well. More Baltimore correlation for our wide receiver 8. Hopkins, I'm sure, will score a couple touchdowns this year. Beyond that, I mean, like, I don't know that there's been any hype at all for DeAndre Hopkins. It honestly feels like Tez Walker, who finally had the good game last preseason game for the Ravens. Tez Walker could pass him up, and it wouldn't shock me at some point. And certainly you still have Bateman, Flowers there, Andrews there. You have a lot of guys that could make Hopkins a total non-factor. But in round 19, he's always been a guy, including last year for the Chiefs when he really had no juice left. Got there, commanded some red zone targets, some end zone targets, literally, right past the goal line. I think there's still opportunity for Hopkins if you're taking Lamar. But really, I feel like he hasn't really practiced in the preseason. He's been banged up and shit. He could be like a 0 and it wouldn't be crazy. But shout out to all you guys watching live here. Again, we are drafting on Drafters for the last stage of this TRIDRAFTALON. Please do deposit over there, drafters.com, promo code SPLASH, down the Drafters app. But really the big thing for you, it is obviously supporting the show when you deposit, use that promo code SPLASH on Drafters, but it also supports your bankroll in a big way because there's probably going to be, if I had to guess, 25% overlay at least, if not 30%, could be even more. I think Drafters is getting squeezed pretty hard this year, and for you, that's a benefit because it means that there's money in this tournament that's not going to be assigned to people based on the normal amount of fill that a tournament should have. So playing on Drafters has gone a long way for me in the past. A couple years ago, the tournament didn't fill as well, and I finished top 100, won a couple grand on that. Last year, played their playoff best ball tournament, but in only 3 entries, finished top 10. That's kind of upside you get on Drafters, so do play on there. And in particular, if you like this content, just deposit on there, use the promo code SPLASH. But if you want to really make your money go further for the last amount of entries we're putting in, these final 2 weeks and change, really would recommend getting a few entries in on Drafters. At the very least, put in 10 entries and their Millie Maker, or their Millie Maker tournament, their big tournament here, their main event championship tournament. And that gives you a shot at 500K. And we put in 10 entries, you get one for free. That's what I would try to do here. There's going to be other promos they run as well, but do it if you can. Really do think it's a good idea for you guys to do it. Do I think DK overlays again this year? They're going to get as close as they have been to filling, if I had to guess. I don't know what the fill rate is offhand, but I'll look in a different tab while we wait for my pick to come up. Let's see. They've got 614,000 in out of 880. That's actually a pretty good fill for them. 614. They're 70% filled. Yeah, they're going to get to like 80% this week. They're actually just right behind BBM this year. Hey, good for DraftKings. You know what it probably is all the stochastic streams I've been doing. I'm including today at 3 p.m. doing another DraftKings best ball draft on stochastic. But yeah, that one, better shot at filling, better shot at not having overlay. It's still a decent shot probably of it being a rake-free contest, but probably not getting overlay in terms of them putting in more money than the prize pool would be my guess. Now we're coming up on the clock here. Miles Sanders hanging around. Brashard Smith. Remember the days and everybody thought Brashard Smith was going to matter? Jarquez Hunter. Those good old days. Not so much anymore, huh? All right, Marshawn Lloyd's still here if we want to take the 6th RB. Should I just put him on my rosters ceremonially at this point? You know who I don't think went? Chris Rodriguez did go. God damn it. Thought maybe I could sneak that in. I could do a 4th tight end. Pat Freiermuth, come on down. Think Ingram, Strange, likely good enough as a 3 tight end build, but it's a 20-round draft, and I feel like nothing at RB is going to help me out that much. Marshawn Lloyd for total points, I think it's a bit of a lost cause. I could have taken Marshawn too, but 4th tight end, stacked up with Rodgers, I could live with it. Final team here, Lamar Jackson, Bo Nix, Aaron Rodgers at RB, Bijan Robinson, Chase Brown, Dylan Sampson, Tyjae Spears, Roshan Johnson. The top 2 are what's going to make or break the team. Anything else, like, frankly, think I could have just taken one more RB and, like, this team will be good if Bijan and Chase Brown are good. It'll be bad if they're not. That's sort of the way I'm making this bet. DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Chris Olave, Juwan Jennings, Rashad Bateman, Marvin Mims. I think that top 6 ended up better than it usually would in these spots. Kyle Williams, useless. DeAndre Hopkins, maybe useless. Tight end, Evan Ingram, Brenton Strange, Isaiah Likely, Pat Freiermuth. So we got a good little Denver stack as a base. We got good RBs with Bijan and Chase Brown. Receiver room can survive and spike occasionally. Team works. I don't think that was like a terribly exciting team, but they're not all going to be. So that's it. Try Draftalon over, guys, but I will be back at 3 p.m. Eastern today on Stochastic. So come play along with me on DraftKings, the Millie Maker over there coming up again 3 p.m. Eastern. I will ping the Discord as well when I join with how many spots are left, so you can be in that room if you want. Do join the Discord too. Hop into the Discord by subscribe to this channel, then joining the channel down below for $5. Then there's a link in the description. If you do that, you get added to the Discord immediately because it'll know that you're a YouTube member. So very simple, very easy to get in there. Whenever there's any NFL news, I drop it to the Discord, give my take on it, along with a link to the source. Do that whenever I see anything interesting. At this stage, start to slow down a little bit more, but that's what the Discord will be. You also get my data sheets in season as well, same tier. So do check that out if you want to be getting that extra value and be part of the community here on Splash Play. And of course, check out Drafters as well, the presenting sponsor of Splash Play this summer. $100 deposit match. We use that promo code SPLASH at drafters.com or download the Drafters Daily Fantasy app and use the promo code SPLASH in there. But good way to get some entries here. Again, very good shot at overlay. I would say a much higher shot at overlay than DraftKings at this point, which I don't expect to overlay, at least not meaningfully. Underdog definitely won't overlay. Drafters, it might legitimately be like 300K extra that they're putting in, which sucks for them as a company, but it's good news for you guys as consumers. So hop in, do some drafts on Drafters. Use that promo code SPLASH at drafters.com right now, and it does support the show and supports you getting a shot at that money. 500K up top in a total points format. I'm getting my entries in. Hopefully you guys are in as well. And again, back at 3 p.m., guys, so make sure you gamble responsibly, even though it is always money time on this channel. Follow this channel at Splash Play Pod on Twitter, on YouTube. Follow me at Chris Spags. I'll be back soon with more. So, hey, enjoy your days, guys. See you at 3 p.m. on Stochastic. And, of course, good luck. Bye-bye.